And we end up right on the rain snow line, it appears at this point. So this is the general expectation. You'll probably see more wet snow than anything. I'd say draw a line even as far south, perhaps as western Chester up to Upper Bucks County and all points north, wet snow, but not much accumulation. At best, you'd be maybe looking at a coating to an inch or two, possibly up to 3. It mixes with rain to limit any accumulation in Philly, and it's primarily just a rainmaker the further south you go. So this will be one of those forecasts that creates a mixed bag across the region. Sunny skies in the meantime, though, but nicely done. Way to don the Irish green. Okay, guys, you promised to the Eyewitness Weather Watcher Network, and here we go. We'll take you on out to a full screen of all the different observations coming into us just within the last, say, hour or so. It's a lot colder. If you recall, yesterday this same time, we were already into the 40s. We were flirting with 50, even a couple of choice locations. But now we're a lot colder than that. 30s and even 20s being reported. This one coming into us from Mark. He's got a nice clear sky. He's actually got a light wind, but you're not going to find that everywhere. Let's take you to another example. 31 was sent in to us from Bill Layden. He's out in Cardington. He had a comment too, just below the freezing mark. Give your car a few extra minutes. What a great tip, because we feel like we've gotten past that hump, right? Not necessarily when it's March. You can have all sorts of extremes. One more for you. 29 degrees sent in to us from Barbara Lane, and she is out in Willow Grove with a nice taper later on tonight, and it's quiet today and tomorrow. But here's the beginnings. You can already see how it's blossoming. Our next storm system yesterday, it was a tiny little blob of moisture over the Big Bend of Texas, and now it's starting to expand. That's going to roll east and head our way. And yes, we do have a good potential for snow, mainly wet snow as you go. Even I'd say as far south, you could draw that line down into western Chester and then into Upper Bucks counties on points north. But you're not talking about much accumulation. It starts perhaps with some wet snow, maybe a quick coating to an inch in Philly, then turns to rain. So I don't think you're going to have to shovel much away. Even further north, at worst, up to 3 inches. At absolute worst. And then we look forward. We're still going to warm things up for you Saturday, but there's already another cold front, so most of this forecast won't break out of the below average 40s. Victoria will easily see some accumulation out of this, and as a result, we do have winter weather advisories that take effect tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. So you're not necessarily, if you're up with us right now, you're probably not going to be waking up to precip just yet, unless this decides it's going to zip along and be a little early. But regardless, it generally looks like it's towards sunrise that things really start to get underway. Now, here is our exclusive eyewitness weather snowfall map. This 1 to 2 inch, locally even up to 3 inch swath in the lighter shade of blue would fall across Philly, the I-95 corridor, and then eventually into the afternoon turn over to rain. Further north you go, higher totals, because you'll probably keep enough cold air to keep it straight up snow. The further south you go, maybe you see some snow initially from Newcastle County over to Burlington, but points south of that, it's generally a rain producer. In the meantime, today, quiet as can be. Your high 45 degrees, still close to 10 below the average, but at least it's sunny. The clouds build tonight as the storm a smidge further south here. I want to take you all the way to southern New Jersey, where it's 21 degrees right now, sent in to us from William Powell. Lovely with the ocean waves off in the distance there, but nice and clear, so definitely chilly, but again, not as windy. Another 21 degree temperature reading coming into us from Dolores. She's out in Newark, where there again are nice clear skies, and she'd have a comment, cold and frosty, and thank you, Dolores. Yeah, Katie, I knew it. Praying for you and hubby and babies. Yes, we made the announcement yesterday. There's 2 little nuggets on the way at the end of September. Thank you for that, Dolores. Really appreciate it. Let's take you on out to Storm Scan, though. We've got a storm to talk about. It is brewing right now, well off to our south. It is strictly a rain producer at this point, but that will be changing. As this starts to nudge into some colder air, we'll start to see some pinks and purples begin to show up, but this is still a full day away. By about this time tomorrow, we're starting to see the beginnings of expectation in terms of snowfall. It starts off along I-95 with a slushy 1 to 2, locally 3 inches before turning to a wet, chilly rain later in the day, but it's primarily snow the further north you go. That's why we've got 2 to 4 inches, locally even up to 6, but this would mainly fall on grassy surfaces. Thankfully, that's the one and only big storm that we're tracking. Then we look forward in the forecast. Granted, it's still cool, but at least it's quiet, and most of the 7-day, Jess, is at least bringing some sunshine. Over to you. Day of spring does begin, so tomorrow's the first full day of the spring season, and actually, we are actually going to end up with some much nicer weather by then. For now, though, Storm Scan, yeah, it's action-packed, and even though a lot of this morning moisture has yet to actually hit the ground. You can see how there is moisture working its way on in right up I-95, and as it does so, it will eventually take over. The column of air is going to be moisture laden, and we'll start to see some of this actually stick to the ground. But right now, a lot of this isn't verifying at ground level yet. It will be a matter of time, and we end up with a mix, at least along I-95 and adjacent counties, of some slushy snow, 1 to 3 inches locally, and then perhaps it turns over to rain later on today. Actually, not perhaps. It will turn over to rain, primarily rain further south, but it's primarily snow further off to the north. Here's this nice little change of pace, though, looking ahead to Saturday. Not as cold. The high hits 50, so if there is snow left on the ground, it'll have a chance to just start to melt away. Quiet couple of days through Tuesday, and then a nice rebound. And by Thursday, we received more than an inch of snow on the first day of spring. Was it back in 1996, B, 1980, C, 1967, or D, 1943? I would like to collect your answers, and then we're going to go through. So what do you guys think, anchors?
I'll go B, 1980.
B?
I'm going to go with A, 96.
Okay.
Well, that's not fair because I was going to say B.
You can all say the same thing if you want it. So 2 B's and an A?
2 B's.
2 B's and an A.
Yep.
We'll try B first. Y'all are wrong. Let's try A.
All right, who's the winner?
All right, the winner is... Letter C, 1967. None of us was born yet, but we actually ended up with 3.8 inches of snow on the first day of spring in that year. I know. So doesn't it make, with the forecast we've got out there today, I feel like this is like a joke to us with all the pretty sunshine and the flowers and everything. But yes, officially at least, we can think front, and then Thursday bringing us a cold front. So let me walk you through the pattern. Today we're into the 40s yet again. Chilly day. Certainly a few more clouds for you out there. It's just, you know, quiet but chilly. That's kind of the story. Then Wednesday brings along this warm front, and it may be close enough with the bulk of its moisture to bring us a shower later in the day. So most of the day features at least some sun. Will moderate back up into the 50s, but then I could see a shower, especially toward nightfall. Thursday's the warm day as we approach 70. We'll see how we do. Delaware maybe even has a shot to hit it in a couple spots, but we're shooting for 68 in Philly, but we sit in the warm sector, so it'll be a muggier day, and you're going to have to dodge showers and even a few thunderstorms. Then by Friday, temperatures are knocked back to seasonable territory, and skies will begin to clear, though I could see maybe a few lingering showers very early on. In the meantime, today, generally quiet, but cool. The high 46 degrees. Jenkins, he's up in Percy with primarily clouds. Spring needs to come. He's running out of comments about the cold. I love that. All right, let's take you a little further south. It's one of those, yeah, you start to run out of adjectives after a while. Barbara Lane bringing in the clouds here in Willow Grove as well, and yeah, 27, another chilly start for her. And let's take you to one more 28-degree temperature reading sent in to us from Mike. He's out in Downingtown where as well they've got just lots of clouds. Where are these clouds coming from? Because we had a nice clear sky earlier yesterday and really throughout the entire day. Let me show you. You got to look closely. You see this little pocket of moisture? It's a little weak disturbance that continues to fizzle and weaken as it goes away. So you don't have to worry about anything more than clouds. Otherwise, yeah, there's some pockets of moisture showing up here. You've got certainly some snow, some light rain, another pocket of rain out in the northwest. All of these pieces sort of come together. And then by tomorrow, we're seeing a much more organized storm system take shape and a warm front lift through. Thursday, this is a cold front. That's going to be dropping on in, but we warm up substantially ahead of it, and then temperatures get knocked back and we're stuck again into below average territory by this weekend. That said, you'll see a lot of ups and downs in the 7 days. So we go from the 40s to the 50s to the 60s, back to the 50s, back to the 40s over the course of the next 5 days, and generally a below average chill is the expectation all weekend. Jess, over to you.
Thanks, Katie. Good morning.
For severe storms for the extreme southeastern portion of our area, but that is the absolute lowest level that you can have with the new classifications that were issued last October. Meanwhile, visibility as well. I mean, here's the story. It's essentially, at least through eastern New Jersey, the worst right now. Further inland you go, the wind is starting to pick up at least a little bit. So you're not going to have as much in the way of fog at this point, but it's something that you got to watch out for. Garden State Parkway commuters, that kind of thing. You're going to run into it. Meanwhile, temperatures are definitely milder than they were this same time yesterday, and still with enough of a modest breeze. The fog is still a concern. We're at 49 degrees currently in Atlantic City with a southwest component to the wind flow. Southerly wind all day here today, guys, so that's going to help us really get that warm air in place, and that's why we're still expecting that daytime high to hit 68 degrees. Always a trade-off, though, and the trade-off will be the need for an umbrella with rounds of rain and drizzle coming through pretty much at any time, but especially starting later this morning. I'd say about the time the typical, which was hit by a devastating tornado, if you recall, just 2 years ago, that made nationwide headlines. Now, the National Weather Service will check out the rubble today to see if in fact was a tornado that caused all of that damage. But thankfully, I can report this is not going to be anywhere near the severe situation for our area, but we're definitely going to see a very significant impact out of this storm system. So right now, we are sitting just really in the warm sector of the storm. So fog is really your initial concern. Watch out for those little pockets. Meanwhile, here's the frontal boundary, at least the leading edge of it. Obviously, a lot of moisture to work with, and this is all just going to march eastbound as the day goes on. So in between that point, until the front actually gets here, you're just going to be stuck with these pockets of rain and drizzle that come through intermittently anytime today. Once the cold front gets here, we're actually going to have the possibility for not just some heavy downpours and lightning, but also some stronger wind gusts. So the Storm Prediction Center has since issued reporting temperatures at about 40 degrees. So he's not finding anything other than rain up that way. But I'm going to show you on the radar in a second. There is a little hint of some colder air nudging in to bring in maybe a little bit of wet snowflakes up that way eventually. Cold wind, though, and very damp. I mean, it just feels raw outside up that way. Let's take you a little further off to the south here. We'll go a bit further inland, though. 39 degrees sent in to us from Helen. She's up dark and early with us here out in Moton, where she's also got some damp and dreary conditions to start the day. At least it's not the white stuff, she says, and I'm with her. Yeah, remember exactly a week ago we had the snow to track. Meanwhile, John's got out in Glasgow some wet weather as well, and it's all evident here. I mean, there's some really heavy rain coming down with some of this, especially just northwest of Philadelphia. But it is essentially riding right into the I-95 corridor as we speak. So if you're traveling some of these major roadways, you're going to get doused here. And it's all because this front is trying to pull away, and there's an area below pressure that decided it wanted to develop on its tail end. So there are going to be heavy downpours embedded within this. So slick and slow travel is pretty much a guarantee. So even though the roads may not be packed up with cars just yet, you're going to get automatically slowed down because of that. I know Tor was going to be talking about that. Meanwhile, later on this afternoon, we'll probably hit about 51 degrees at the height of the day, but about 3 p.m. you're talking 50 degrees, and by that point everything's drying out. Not a heck of a lot of sunshine today, but at least we can guarantee a drier second half of the day. Victoria, finally here. Yes, I have a feeling that the home and garden section of your local home improvement store is going to be just jam-packed today, because this is like one of the first really nice days that we've had. It is going to turn windy with time, so I don't want to minimize that message. That's definitely going to pose a problem for us later on, or, you know, at least it's going to be a noticeable issue. But right now it is totally calm and quiet. Without that breeze, it feels okay outside in Center City. Definitely over the Ben Franklin Bridge, a-okay right now. All is just tranquil. When we take a look at Storm Scan 3, that's certainly evident on the satellite and the radar. When we zoom it out, you barely even have a cloud in the sky. So nice and clear, moonlit skies, no less, for you out there. Temperatures are still off to a chilly start, but we have this surge of warmth that's coming our way, and that is going to really help to allow those temperatures to rebound nicely. If you remember from yesterday, we showed you the same map. These 60s were only extending as far since it is so clear outside. Let's go a little further to the west, where 33 degrees was sent in to us from Lynn. Again, clear skies, a chilly start, but she's breaking out and dusting off her sunglasses, which is a great idea. Beautiful sunshine expected for us yet again. We'll go to 32 degrees next. Jerry Timlin sent that in to us from King of Prussia. So yeah, cold start to the day, but virtually non-existent wind. So it's not quite as harsh as yesterday was. And eventually, the southerly push that we've been talking about of that warm air from the south is going to really send these temperatures on a really nice uphill climb. But eventually, this whole storm system is going to have to roll through, and that'll happen come Friday. In the meantime, because the wind starts to kick in today, that's the one X factor that comes with today's forecast. It's really nice, save for this. You've got to worry about an elevated fire risk. This is not a major concern, but we've got relatively low humidity. We've got drying grass. Cigarette butts. I just want you to be really careful out there with that today. Meanwhile, nice and mild. Enjoy it. Upper 60s tomorrow, but have the rain gear ready. And overall, not a bad Easter weekend or opening day for the
seeing out there, Katie.
Warmth, that's for sure. A nice mild start to the day here, Erica, as we start things off here, sort of centering in on Philadelphia, but around the region, you've got a lot of 50s, even a handful of 60s. We'll take you into Delaware first, where we do have 56 degrees sent in to us from John. He is finding a little bit of rain out there in Glasgow. That's just within the last 5 minutes. And that's kind of the story today. Some of you find rain, some of you won't. It's scattered off and on throughout the day. Everyone likely sees something, but it isn't going to be a washout. That's the key here. Lynn Springer seeing just clouds. There you go. Perfect example out in Cherry Hill. She's at 60 degrees though, but also advises to not forget. Yeah, you never want to get caught off guard, right? Let's take you a little further off to the north where 55 is the temperature sent in to us from John Jenkins out in Percy, where currently there's nothing more than a handful of clouds out there. But that too, again, is going to be changing because yeah, you've got a lot of activity here in Storm Scan 3. This isn't a large organized storm system, but it's definitely active and unsettled. And it's kind of tough to pinpoint, but essentially here's your front, sort of stationary, semi-stationary, meandering with time, and we're on the warmer side of it right now off to the south. But eventually with time, this is going to sort of drop to the southeast, and we get put into more of a northeasterly component to the wind flow, and what that will do is allow the temperatures to take a hit. So each and every day of the next 4, we have to keep wet weather in the forecast, mostly cloudy or just straight up cloudy and chilly with these rounds of rain rolling on through, especially for tomorrow and Thursday, as we only at best hit 50 degrees. And then a huge surge comes our way on the thermometer on Friday in advance of a dreary, and it stays that way today and tomorrow, no less. But then good things coming up here. Yeah, we've still got showers and a thunderstorm on Friday, but a huge surge on the thermometer as this front actually lifts back to the north and allows the return flow from the southwest. And then the front crosses through. We end up with temperatures just even by 6 p.m. had already dropped 10 degrees as the wind began to shift. And then we're back down to the 40s right now. We're probably not going to be rebounding all that much out of that territory here today. So that's kind of the idea here. You're at 42 degrees currently outside Palmyra Cove Nature Park in the heart of Palmyra, New Jersey. And right off in the distance here across the Delaware, that is the river, but a little dark to be able to tell the waves out there. But here you've got Center City, kind of skewed obviously by the cloud cover. Therein lies the problem. It's the chill that sets in from that onshore flow, and especially folks that live down near the shore points know what that is all about. Outside we go to the Live Neighborhood Network, where off in the distance you'd normally see Center City. You can't make any of it out right now with those low clouds in place, but our wind flow is starting to shift. It's out of the northwest at that location and becoming more and more southwesterly with time. That's where that 73 degrees is going to come from. Meanwhile, to move in, so that does produce big changes for us. We've come off now of some very, very chilly weather the last couple of days, but as a warm front lifts through, that's going to certainly send our temperatures on a skyrocketing, climb here back to the mid 70s. But there will be gusty storms to deal with later today, especially Delaware and southernmost New Jersey. Say the couple of maybe 3 or 4 counties that are in the southernmost tier of that state. You're at most risk for anything to turn locally strong or severe with those storms, and they come primarily this afternoon and evening. Come tomorrow, though, held back in the mid 60s, still a smidge above average. We will take that with a northwest breeze, though, that you'll notice. And Sunday is just calm and beautiful, and it looks like we keep that heat theme going on Mella, and we might even have some minor flooding issues, in fact, if we have that kind of rain around for as long as future weather is right now expecting. Meanwhile, we don't usually see too much activity on the Delaware, but right now we do out at Palmyra Cove Nature Park. The view overlooking Center City, a ship out in the water here on the Delaware, 44 degrees and a light wind. Nice afternoon, 72 degrees. The rain comes tomorrow, and that's what's going to be responsible for what looks to be a pretty soggy day tomorrow. So I'm jumping you all the way to 3 a.m. overnight into tomorrow. And that's about the time that we'll start to see the first raindrops falling in the far north and westmost suburbs. And it's a slow progression with some heavy moisture, too. So rounds of steady rain likely to last us at least through the morning across southeastern Pennsylvania, and then it sort of just drags itself into southeastern portions of our area. So New Jersey, Delaware getting hit the hardest as we head into the second half of the day. He said you nailed it here. Free rinse from Mother Nature here today. So there you go. Free car wash. 58 degrees also was sent in to us from Fran. He too is out in Nottingham, Chester County here, but he said it just started to drizzle for him. That was actually within the last half hour or so, or even just a few minutes past that. So it is getting underway, though it's off to a little bit of a slow start. But here's the front. I mean, there's a lot of people affected by this. It's draped all the way from across the Canadian border, straight back and even off the map here. So this is basically just going to rotate through. By the time it hits Delaware and southern New Jersey, it kind of gets hung up here. So those are the spots. Southern third of our region, you're going to see that rain last most of the day once it starts. So it's not there yet. But as it moves in for you, you're eventually just going to be stuck with it here. So we would say about 10 a.m. or so is when southern New Jersey and Delaware start to see the rain, and it's at least going to last you until 8 p.m. before gradually tapering from north to south. Lehigh Valley Poconos, it's primarily a morning issue. So morning dry yet, but it's a matter of time, and it looks like it's going to last us until at least lunchtime and then fizzle away. Meanwhile, come tomorrow, everyone sitting in the clear here. We'll all end up with sunshine. Flirt with 70. Looks really nice. Thursday, not bad either. And then we do see another disturbance moving in to bring at least the chance for some showers for Friday and Saturday. Justin, over to you. Look forward, but let's talk pollen here. Maple, juniper, alder, the biggest issues. Even though the levels drop off a little bit by tomorrow, it's simply because the wind flow is starting to die off. So you've got a bit of a breeze today, so really running rampant with those pollen counts. Make sure that you've got your meds ready to go. This will be a day that you don't want to let go by sitting in the house, if you're worried about your allergies. It's just going to be so pleasant outside. 70 degrees with that sunshine. Eventually, if it starts off with clouds, they'll quickly break. And then later tonight, under a couple of clouds, we drop to 44 degrees. Looking forward in the forecast, we'll see a few ups and downs on the thermometer. Overall, there will be wet weather that comes along, but we're not tracking any major storms through the weekend right now, so that's good news. For the meantime, we expect high pressure to keep us in the sun today with a high of 70. Tomorrow, partly sunny overall, but we will see sun as well, and it does stay dry with highs in the mid-60s. And then we do start to see this next disturbance. Well, it's a frontal boundary, and moving on in, and what that's going to do is help usher in just a scattered variety of showers, not a washout by any stretch. We'll keep you in the 60s there. So today, concern for you here today, but the pollen will be, and the fact that you need sunblock will be, and probably some sun glare maybe early in the morning. It's just those minor leftover impacts that come along with days like this. But as we take you out to the Eyewitness Weather Watchers, we're starting off on a little hint of a cooler note here this morning. William Powell's down across south central New Jersey, specifically in Woodbine, where he's generally got a clear sky. He sent that very recently, the last couple of minutes. 45 degrees was also sent in to us from, there he is, David. He is in Clementon right now. I know he travels for work and tends to send us observations from all of his different locations, which we really love. But 45 where he is right now, and again, just some clouds. We'll go a little bit further north where the skies are beginning to clear up towards the Lehigh Valley and Poconos, but it is chilly out in the remote suburbs of Gilbertsville here. Eileen Murray sent in a handful of clouds right now, but she's got that brisk light jacket kind of morning comment going. I like that. So have the extra layers ready when you walk out the door, and later on today, you're probably going to be able to shed that. Meanwhile, storm scan bulk of activity is going to stay south, and sure enough, it is. High pressure is taking over for us at this point, so we get some nice weather both today and tomorrow. I do want to highlight what's happening here in the Intermountain West. You've got some snow up in the highest terrain of the Rockies. Not uncommon this time of year. Eventually, this storm pulls into the plains, ends up bringing maybe even some snow to Denver, but it will get hung up for a day or two and then move east. So we will see some pretty quiet weather overall the next couple of days. A weak little cold front comes along on Friday. That's going to bring in a couple of showers, scattered in nature, and then we keep the weather pretty quiet for the weekend. Monday right now looks like the day so far out that storm I showed you a second ago finally gets here. So it's going to take its sweet old time, and that means, Victoria, pretty nice weekend for us as a result.
All good.
Make me want to roam. I love that song. Let's
Maybe
cruise. What a good couple of days to do that. Tomorrow looks a little wet, which we'll discuss, but we've got some nice spring weather for you. I have personally finally been able to open the sunroof. I've seen people out in convertibles. I mean, it's just like those first couple of days that you can finally do that. Oh, it feels so nice. Let's go and check in with our Eyewitness Weather Watchers. Maybe no sunroofs this morning. It is a little cool outside. Later on today, though, it'll be great for it. Keith Barrow sent in clear skies for us. 41 degrees for him within the last hour. He's up in Saylorsburg, up in the Poconos for us. He's got a nice morning. I mean, echoing exactly what I just said. Nice morning, but a little bit cool for us. We'll take it a bit further off to the south here. We'll go ahead and check in with this 44-degree temperature reading. Just a handful of clouds right now, and we'll go to one more 38 sent in to us from Mark. He's in a little bit more of a remote area, so 38 degrees. It's a little chillier there out in Chatsworth. Let's check out what's going on the map, and it's definitely a busy Storm Scan 3 at the nationwide level. We are still under the influence of high pressure here at home for one more day, so it is another nice day. By tomorrow, showers move in. You got to look really closely, but there is an area of low pressure working its way across the Intermountain West right now. That will eventually become our next storm system, but it gets kind of hung up over the south central plains for a few days, so it bodes well for us. Meanwhile, as we look forward here, we're counting down the days until the average high is 70, just over 2 weeks away from that. Memorial Day is just under 40 days away, average high of 80, 48 days away, and summer officially begins in 66 days. So we'll continue to keep that countdown going for you here. It's coming up here. In the meantime, still some nice, pleasant weather to enjoy. Showers around tomorrow. In the meantime, specific to the PM round of showers and storms, a renewed severe weather threat is with us here. It does not appear as though this is going to be any kind of a tornado threat by any means, but strong wind is certainly a possibility, heavy rain, as well as some small-size hail and frequent lightning. That's also a concern for us. So it's something else that we're going to have to look ahead to. But in the meantime, yeah, you've got some steady, heavy rain that is currently moving in for a while, and now it's finally here, and just as promised, bringing in some very soggy conditions as well as windy conditions too as we check in with the Eyewitness Weather Watchers. A couple of really good comments coming into us too, which I want to highlight for you. John Jenkins is up in Percy where it is raining at 50 degrees. He says it's time to pay up basically after the great weekend that we had. No kidding, right? But here's a really good comment coming into us from Eileen. She's got 48 degrees with the rain falling in Gilbertsville, by the way. But she said the umbrella isn't enough. Because of the wind, it doesn't help very much. So a raincoat and an umbrella are probably the best idea. Great advice. So thanks for that one, Eileen. We'll go to one more and take you far south in towards northern portions of Cape May County here. Woodbine, New Jersey specifically. William Powell sending in some rain for him as well. I mean, that's kind of the running theme here, but 56 degrees, so a tad milder there. And we are seeing a nice southerly component to our wind flow with this too. So as the wind comes out of the south and west, it's going to help shove basically mild air into our region, and we will catch a break for a little bit of midday sun. But for now, as well as a second round of rain that comes through later on today, we end up with some pretty decent rainfall amounts after it's all said and done. Our future rain amounts up until 4 a.m. tomorrow. By the time this is all starting to clear out, we could easily be left with nearing 2 inches of rain towards, say, Mount Pocono, for example, where 1.94 is at least the projected model output when it comes to how much rain we're actually going to find out of this storm. Meanwhile, we look ahead to tomorrow. Skies clear pretty quickly. We end up with more sun than anything. A little hit on the thermometer, certainly, but we should still get you in the upper 60s. Wednesday, cold front number 2 for the week comes along. Not particularly strong front, but it does knock the temperatures back. And for 3 days straight, we struggle to even break out of the upper 50s. So it will be below average for a couple of days, too. Justin?
All right. This morning,
well,
Katie?
many of them are at least seeing the mild air, much like we are finding in some of our just typical observation sites. We'll take you out to the region-wide zoom here on the map, and we're finding a lot of mid, upper 50s. This is Ed in 56 degrees. Mark has 57, and we'll take you to one down here, 59 degrees, sent in to us from David Dutch. He's at 59 in Clementon, New Jersey. I'll go to one more, actually. 58 was sent in to us from John Dowell. He, at this point, has just clouds, but he did have quite a bit of rain, as many of us did, and he reported just over 2¼ inches of total rainfall from this event. But we are going to continue to be tracking some additional showers through the rest of the morning. Some of them are locally, coming down in steadier fashion, not anywhere near as widespread as what we had yesterday, but you can still see that back over portions of New Jersey, you've got some of that heavier rain. Thankfully, at this point, the thunderstorms that came along with this have since fizzled away. It's just rain showers. Off in the distance, storm circulation still back here over the Great Lakes. This is actually going to send another frontal boundary, a secondary frontal boundary through our area, and that's going to be the front that knocks our temperatures back. So we hold tough here into seasonable territory. Yesterday was nice and mild in the mid-70s. We should hit the mid-60s today and tomorrow, and that's right where we should be. But then that next front comes along, especially second half of the day tomorrow, bringing in the showers. It does not look like it's anywhere near the kind of system that those last two fronts brought us, but it will bring in some wet storms. Is primarily lunchtime till about 5 p.m. Everything's moving in from west to east, so it depends where you are, what time it gets to you. Westmost suburbs, it's earliest. Obviously, out towards the shore points, it's a little later. But with the wind gusts embedded in those thunderstorms, you could be talking up to 50-mile-per-hour gusts. That'll send your trash can flying. So make sure you secure those loose objects before you go to school and work today. Small hail, can't even rule that out. And definitely localized downpours, a concern with this. So starting things off on a relatively quiet note, but the wind is going to pick up with time. The gusts generally 35 miles per hour, but again, within embedded thunderstorms, they could be stronger. 41 degrees our expected low tonight as skies clear. Temperatures take a tumble, and we're about 10 degrees below average here both Thursday and Friday. And they are up and at 'em with us this morning. Yuki, and good morning, everyone. We'll check in with them very quickly. Temperatures that we're finding around the region are for the most part in the mid-40s, but there are a few outliers, such as in one of the more remote suburbs across central New Jersey. And Mark Herndon sent in from Chatsworth, New Jersey, 35 degrees, just a couple of clouds right now, but with these kinds of temperatures, he's right. The wind, I like how he put it, will have teeth later on because it is going to kick in with time here. We'll take you a little further inland towards Cherry Hill where Lynn is reporting 46 degrees. Very, very light wind. Also just a few clouds for her. And she said, just don't forget a sweater. Umbrella as well for later on. In Gilbertsville, Eileen also has a handful of clouds. 39 chilly degrees, and it's brisk with that temperature when you wake up and walk out the door this morning. So here's where it's all coming from. We do, of course, have our same storm system actually producing, some snow showers up across the Great Lakes. So some cold core with this. And here's the latest frontal boundary. It's a secondary front. So bulk of moisture back over Indiana, Ohio. That's what crosses through later on today. And we are going to be dodging not just gusty thunderstorms that pack a punch of wind with gusts even as high as 50 miles per hour out of those, generally 12 to 5 p.m. from west to east, but maybe some small size hail. The good news is for our fills, it's all out of here by this evening. Perhaps you've got a lingering shower. The wind will still be out there, but bulk and brunt of the frontal boundary will have since crossed on through South Philly and pretty much everywhere else. So that's some good news around, which makes sense, right? So here's your question anchors. They're all going like this, like settling in.
Tell us, Katie.
What is the latest date that Philadelphia ever recorded a low temperature of 32 degrees or less? Was it April 29th, A, B, May 2nd, C, May 11th, or good grief, can you imagine, D, May 20th? So let's tally up our guesses and see what we got.
It must be a trick question. She goes, oh, good grief. Go ahead, Victoria.
B. It would stink, though, let's be honest. Okay, B for the second.
I'll go C.
Okay.
And I'll go with A.
All right, let's take you back to A.
No, don't take us there.
No.
Because you know that's wrong.
You know for the first one.
Oh, man.
Is it B?
Uh-oh,
But could it be?
Hey.
Well done. It was Erica that picked that, right?
Blind squirrel
Well
finds
done.
nut.
So May 11th, yes, back in 1966, we did hit 32 degrees into the month of April, as we still have a little hint of snow to show you out there, but that's not going to actually affect us here today. We should end up with more sun than anything. Meanwhile, there is a storm starting to brew over the deep south, specifically over the Lone Star State, and that eventually becomes a storm that could become a story for us. So we jump you all the way to late tonight, 9 p.m., and it's starting to get its act together. It's going to gather moisture and become a little bit more organized, and then by late in the day, Saturday, the clouds should start to thicken. The question is, where does this actually go? Does it strike our southernmost counties or not? It's going to really just depend on the final track. So still just a chance. I would say the further north you go, the more likely it is you end up with a totally dry weekend, but I want to leave at least the chance for some showers Saturday night leading into Sunday for the southern tier of our area. Meanwhile, the weekend temperatures start to ease up. We continue that theme, and hey, look at that. A seasonable day coming our way by Wednesday. Humidity. We also are going to be experiencing some not necessarily strong wind gusts, but enough that you're up to 25 miles per hour, and with dry fuels, branches, that kind of thing, as things dry out, you want to just be extra cautious out there with any kind of open flame. We always say that, you know, if you're going to grill out today, it is such a nice day for it. But these are the kinds of things that you want to just be extra cautious about. Meanwhile, we are going to check in here with our Eyewitness Weather Watcher network as well. Take you a bit further off to the south, and you know, generally these temperatures are in the upper 40s. Jason Kwiatkowski sending in nice clear sky overall. He does have that breeze we mentioned, though, 13 miles per hour for him. And he also had a comment. Let's check it out. Not bad at all this morning. A little chill, granted, but not as cold as it has been. Isn't it amazing what perception will do? It's warmer than it was yesterday. We'll take it, right? We take you a little further north here. 46 degrees sent in to us from Mike, and he's got, for now, some clouds, but those are starting to thin out from north to south. He's in Downingtown, and we'll take you to one more. 47 sent in from Eileen. She actually has a clear sky in Gilbertsville. Going to see, and what's interesting is this warm-up actually just gets us back to seasonable, but it's going to feel pretty good to you, I think, here. Meanwhile, we are still tracking the retreat of a storm system, and as it continues to make its retreat, you can really see a very well-defined cloud structure here. It almost looks like that inverted comma shape, but that's your area of low pressure. See how those clouds are thinning away, and as they continue to do so, we end up with more sunshine. Already some pretty colors showing up over the morning sky for us. Looking forward, tomorrow is just a gem of a day. Enjoy it, because a coastal storm decides it's going to develop here on Thursday and Friday, sending our temperatures on a nosedive, bringing back the clouds, bringing back the mist and the breeze and the showers, and just some dreary weather to wrap up the work week. But
I come bearing some better news for the weekend, too. Justin, over to you. Technically, you could call this a nor'easter. That word, I think, strikes fear when you hear it in our area. You think snow and horrible conditions. That is not what this is. What we're actually going to see is a dreary Friday, especially, and some showers. That's pretty much all it does, because this is going to be a storm that essentially bypasses our area. So we'll get impacted by it, but in a pretty indirect way. By tomorrow, starting with sunshine, showers eventually move in. Very scattered variety, I think, by the second half of the day. Friday, as we said, the dreariest day of the forecast with some mist and drizzle and rain showers here and there. Chilly breeze, too, and a thick cloud cover. And then the weekend, I mean, it all turns around for us. I'm out and about already this morning reporting for us. We'll go to a couple of these 40-plus degree temperatures. Barbara Lane sending in clear skies for us, 46 degrees. She's out in Willow Grove with virtually no wind. And we'll take you to one more 49 was sent in to us from Lynn Springer. Also a nice clear sky this morning in Cherry Hill. And she did have a comment. Lunch outside today. You said it. My goodness. We've just got absolutely beautiful weather unfolding. But let's switch gears here. This week is Air Quality Awareness Week. Now, while air quality is totally fine here today, let's just talk very briefly about how the ground level ozone can form. Now, there's actually two types of ozone. You've got good ozone, but that's way up in the atmosphere. And what that will do is essentially protect the Earth from UV rays. You recall the ozone layer hole that we had a couple of decades ago. Meanwhile, here at the ground level, if you get low ground level ozone, that'll lead to smog. It's basically pollutants baked together from heat and sunlight. Meanwhile, we do have a nice weak dome of high pressure in place to keep us hooked up with beautiful weather here today. But again, it does not appear as though air pollution is at all an issue for us with this weather pattern. Rather, we've just got nice weather for you. Storm scan is totally empty, but that's going to change as we look forward in this forecast. Come tomorrow, we start with sun, but clouds eventually do start to build. We'll still hit the upper 60s and likely see a couple of scattered showers later in the day. And then Friday, this is the dreary hurdle we've got to get over. At best, we're talking upper 50s, breezy conditions, a chilly breeze no less from the northeast, and with a coastal storm system just barely bypassing us, some rain and mist is also in the forecast for us, somewhat scattered in nature. Weekend looks up. Right now, we're shooting for at least to flirt with 70 degrees on Saturday, and Sunday looks awfully nice. Look at Tuesday, 80 degrees in the forecast. First one so far that regains control. We should ease up into the 60s again, back to what we saw yesterday on Sunday. And it does appear right now like it's going to get even warmer into early next week. So for now, a stray shower will give you that. But you don't need an umbrella if you're not crazy about carting one along. Later on tonight, we'll drop down to 48 with that northeast wind flow starting to really take grip. And as a result,
Doing this morning?
Well, this morning is actually not looking too bad, Erica. Good morning, everyone. We start things off just generally still on the clear side in terms of any cloud cover. It's starting to pick up a little bit off to our south, which we're going to discuss. We're starting things off here in extreme southeastern Pennsylvania, where 50 degrees was sent in to us from Phil. He's just got a handful of clouds right now in Philadelphia, and he sent that to us within the last 15 minutes. We'll take you a little further inland here. 47, a bit cooler for Fran out in Nottingham with a nice clear sky at this hour. And he did have a comment. Clear, cool, nice start to the day. Absolutely. And overall, I think you're generally talking about a pretty decent day here. Let's take you across the river to one more. Lynn sent in 50 degrees from Cherry Hill, and she also has that nice clear sky. Draft day. She's so excited. Go Birds. I love that. All right, let's go ahead and take you out to Storm Scan 3, where we continue to see over our area anyway a nice clear sky. But there are two pieces of a larger puzzle coming. The moisture over North Carolina, that's one. Then you've got, it's a little bit better defined here, a little bit more of that counterclockwise, that comma shape too, an area of low pressure developing over the Midwest. Those two pieces come together to form our next storm system, which we can call a coastal storm. However, it's not going to be a major impact on us. What we end up with out of this, especially tomorrow, cooler temperatures. Today should actually still be pretty seasonable, but it's cooler than yesterday. More clouds as time goes on today, and especially through the day tomorrow. Gusty winds, check. And then isolated showers. Keyword isolated. It really looks like this storm is essentially going to bypass us. So this is not going to be the next 2 days that you have to have an umbrella carted along with you in your work bag. We really just end up with scattered variety of showers, but tomorrow, again, is a dreary and cooler day by comparison, notably cooler when you factor in that onshore wind. As we look ahead to the weekend, it's a pretty quick turnaround. We are going to see a few more clouds out there on Saturday.
Just wait. All right. So for now, mostly sunny, feeling like June, feeling really like the beginning of summer. It's 84 degrees at the height of the day. Breeze starts to kick in, though, out of the southwest with time. So just be really careful with open flame. Partly cloudy and mild tonight. That's some good sleeping weather. 62 degrees under just a few clouds. And then tomorrow late in the day, we do start to see those showers and thunderstorms erupting. Right now, no expectation for severe weather, but we will keep an eye on that. Morning 61 degrees was sent in from Jason. He's got some fog, actually, he's reporting here. Careful driving, depending on your location, you might run into a few pockets of that. 65 degrees was sent in to us from Michael. Generally, he has got a partly to almost mostly clear sky out there, partly cloudy to mostly clear, and very comfortable, he said, with those really pleasant conditions. One more for you, taking it further off to the north, where we're tracking a closer, you're closer to the wet weather up here to the north. Percy, John has 65 degrees and more cloud cover, and that's well represented when you look at where this frontal boundary is lining itself up. So this whole mess isn't necessarily going to be dropping south, but pieces of it will. So we're calling for just some scattered additional pockets of rain throughout, especially the first half of the day, and temperatures that are in the mid-70s. Now we're jumping you all the way ahead here to Sunday. We're going to hear a survivor story in a minute or two, but we are expecting some pretty on to the news that morning on CBS 3, and by 8 a.m. as the racers are starting to get going, 73 degrees, so comfortable with some sunshine. So happy Mother's Day to you. Looking ahead here, the upcoming weekend looks pretty phenomenal overall. A few more clouds granted, but even by tomorrow, we're seeing that sun return and the 80s return as well. And it looks like we're going to keep that theme going. Our next shot for wet weather does come along, however, finally with a new storm system that's headed our way as early as Monday. Victoria, over to you.
Thank you.
Later on today, meanwhile, we do have our first named storm a little sooner than the start of the official hurricane season, but subtropical storm Anna is now churning off to our south. So we're watching that. We're going to have some indirect impact from that. And you know what? That has a really hard time picking up on fog just because it's so low to the ground. So you're going to encounter that out there today, and including the fact that you've got smoke out from that fire that we just talked about, that will greatly reduce your visibilities. Not everywhere, southeastern counties specifically, and you can see that reflected here in the Live Neighborhood Network. 53 degrees currently at the Boardwalk Plaza in Rehoboth. Cool, granted, but comfortable. Here's a dense fog advisory posted then for basically the shore points and just inland of that. So northwestern Burlington County is not included. They will last us until 8 or 9 this morning. It depends on your location. But bottom line, you're basically stuck with that fog in those communities through the morning rush. Meanwhile, hour by hour, we take you through the day, at least specific to Philadelphia. Really only going to find a couple of clouds overhead. This ends up being a nice, warm, sunny day for us yet again from Philly on north and west. But the further southeast, just is some really nice weather. We have been rained out in years past at the Dadvale, so thankfully some nicer weather to go with it this time. The Eyewitness Weather Watcher is reporting some cooler air this morning, but it's generally pretty nice start to the morning. Although it's the further south and east you travel, we are finding some fog, which we'll discuss. But Lynn is finding a nice clear sky in Cherry Hill at 55 degrees. Happy Friday, she said. The birds are chirping it up this morning. Cute. I love that. All right, let's take you a little bit further east where Mark is in Chatsworth. And as we go into some of these more remote suburbs, we're finding some of that fog settling in here. Very light wind, virtually none out there. Dew points starting to match the temperature. That's exactly what it is. Dew point measures the amount of moisture content in the atmosphere, and the closer it gets to the temperature, the more saturated your air mass. And that's exactly what we're finding out in our Live Neighborhood Network. This is our view typically out over the Genesis. That fog is so thick right now, so there are dense fog advisories posted. Nice wide zoom on storm scan. We've got a lot going on. Off to the south, subtropical storm Anna has formed. Off to the west, another day and several more of severe weather potential. We still have high pressure, though, so that's going to hook us up yet again with some pretty nice weather. Our problems are very minor by comparison to other parts of the country, but with Anna now starting to churn up and gather more moisture and organization, we end up with fog this morning, probably tomorrow and Sunday mornings as well. But overall, it's turning steamy too, and certainly very warm, and that's the theme even into early next week. Victoria? Across the midsection of the U.S. for days now. So here's how it all shakes out. We will see that sunshine for yet another day. But much like yesterday, spotty shower or thunderstorm could be locally heavy, though, since we've got Anna a little bit closer by. And then that storm moves out to sea, what's left of it anyway, and a cold front starts to cross through by Tuesday. So tomorrow, similar day. Even hotter, though, it looks like. Upper 80s, humid, a shower or thunderstorm in the forecast, but it should be spotty in nature. By Wednesday, front will have cleared. So we finally get some cooler air in this forecast.
mass. We're back to where we belong in the mid-70s, and it's still going to be nice, but you're going to notice that difference in the air mass. Shower or thunderstorm today, as we mentioned, brief, spotty, but locally heavy. Later tonight, we drop it down to 66. Another mild night for you out there. If you haven't turned the AC on yet, well done. In Bath, PA, one of our more remote suburbs up in the Lehigh Valley Pocono region, and he's got plenty of clouds. Again, 70 degrees to kickstart the morning here. Whoop, that's not what I wanted to do. Let's do that again. All right, we're at 69 degrees meanwhile. If we can zero in on Barbara Lane's observation, she's out in Willow Grove with some clouds, and we'll take you to one more. 67 degrees sent in to us from Jason with plenty of clouds out in Middletown, Delaware, and he did have a comment. Patchy fog for him in a couple of spots. There was a dense fog advisory that has since been allowed to just expire. It actually has been lifted by the National Weather Service, but you're still going to find some fog out there. The thing is, it hopefully is going to lift a little bit sooner this time around. Meanwhile, as we take you on out to a nice wide zoom, there's a lot going on. We've got what's left now of Anna off to our south. You've got a very potent line of thunderstorms off to the west, and even, yep, some snow through the Dakotas and portions of Colorado. But this whole thing is going to move east, and Anna's going to move north. And first and foremost, because of it, then we heat up to one of the hottest days we've seen yet tomorrow in advance of this cold front. But notice, bulk of the activity, it's off to our north. So we'll probably see a shower or thunderstorm, but that's it. No severe weather potential this time around, no major widespread washout, and then high pressures here. So a glancing blow by comparison from both of those systems for our area, and we end up with some really nice weather in its wake. So back to the mid 70s and lower 70s where we should be finally. That's Wednesday right through Friday, but by Friday there is a warm front lifting in, and that'll potentially bring us a couple of showers as early as Friday night. Meatball sandwich sounds
Doesn't it though?
amazing.
Look
Yes, it
delicious
does.
too. That melted cheese.
Yes.
It's
Where's
almost our
breakfast?
lunchtime too. It's almost our lunchtime too.
Hey,
Let's eat.
when you get up as early as we do, lunchtime can happen as early as 9 a.m. Let's
That's
be
right.
honest. All right, let's start things off with a check with our Eyewitness Weather Watcher Network. A lot of mid-60s being reported. Not quite as warm as it was the same time yesterday, but it is still certainly very mild. We'll take you a little bit further north here where John Jenkins is generally just reporting a lot of clouds in Percy right now. He sent this within the last 15 minutes, so he's got the gray skies to start things off. Yeah, he mentioned this too. We've been talking about it all morning. Could really use some rain right now. Now we're getting to the point where people are hoping for it. 64 degrees was sent in to us from Carrie. She is out in Mount Laurel, and actually she's got a nice clear sky where she is, so a little bit of variety depending on your location. She's got a tinge of red in the sunrise, so another flip-flop, so has a generally clear sky at 64 degrees. He's in Woodbine, New Jersey. So yeah, you've got a little bit of a mixed bag depending on location, and certainly the further northwest you go, you can see there's a little bit more cloud cover here, but it's steamy depending on your location too. So here's what's left now of Anna, still scooting away out to sea, and then you've got your storm system dragging its cold front back through our area. But do you see how things have just started to fizzle out here? The bulk of moisture with this is getting swept well off to the north, so we could see a spotty shower out there, but most of you are dry. And again, at this point, we're kind of hoping for a nice little washout to get rid of the pollen and to give the spring flowers a drink. This is how it feels, though, in the next few days, guys. Totally different days coming up here. Today feeling very much like the dog days of summer. It's steamy, it's humid, it's breezy and hot, but we get some sunshine, a good pool day if yours is open by now. But then by tomorrow, that humidity just... And thankfully, Victoria, it does not appear as though the weather is going to play any active role in hindering the rescue and cleanup efforts out that way. Our Eyewitness Weather Watchers reporting this morning a little bit of transition taking place here. It's not quite as warm as it was yesterday at this same time. We're currently checking in with Mark, I believe it is. Yep, Mark checking in on the last half hour with just generally clearing skies in Chatsworth at 56 degrees, and one more for you here, 61, still somewhat mild for David, and he sent this in within just the last 10-11 minutes or so. But he does have a few more clouds. Those clouds continue to thin out as we continue to track what's left now of our frontal boundary. So the transition is currently underway here, but skies are basically starting to clear out for you, and we are expecting more sun than anything. So pretty pleasant looking sunrise currently underway. That said, this is going to be one of those days where you really notice the breeze, and it will be enough with the dry fine. So southeastern PA, Delaware, don't worry about it, but certainly you will also notice the breeze. It's certainly not confined only to New Jersey. It's just an elevated fire risk in those areas. Meanwhile, as the day progresses, we're talking about a daytime high of 70, far cooler by comparison, but frankly, this is a lot closer to where we should be. Tomorrow just looks absolutely fantastic. A day for outdoor plans, 73 and sunshine, and a slow creep on the thermometer. A new warm front comes along by this weekend with a couple of scattered showers or thunderstorms. You can from Keith.
believe he's got a nice clear sky, very modest wind at this point, but he just said it is downright cold this morning. He had to find the heavier jacket. At least it's going to be sunny, though. That is definitely the plus side. And, you know, we're actually just back to average at this point. We had so many days that were well above average that the fact that this is kind of normal is sort of becoming a distant memory at this point. So now we're just back to reality. Clear skies for you once again. But now we're down in toward the Pineland area where Chatsworth, New Jersey, Mark sent in 39 degrees as well. So the most remote suburbs, it's typical. It's going to be the coolest this morning. Meanwhile, outside we go to a nice wide zoom on storm scan. So high pressure is currently setting up shop. It's going to stay in place here and keep things beautiful today. Eventually, though, it yields for a warm front associated with this big mess, this just blob of showers that's rolling in across the central plains. So eventually we'll see a warm front lift in, and that is prompted freeze warnings and frost advisories, if you can believe it. Not locally, but even just a county or two away. Lackawanna, Luzerne County is basically where that leading edge begins, up across northeastern Pennsylvania and then further off into the highest terrain and the higher latitudes, obviously. We look forward in our eyewitness weather 7-day forecast, and temperatures obviously do start to rebound from here. Warm front is responsible for that, but it's also going to be responsible for the building clouds and also a couple of days of some active weather. No day is a washout, but we'll have some showers or thunderstorms to dodge. So we're looking ahead to a somewhat more of an active weekend. Today, featuring sun and clouds. It's a nice one. High pressure hangs on for one final day, but that warm front lifts in, probably triggering some showers as early as overnight, and especially into tomorrow. We're going to be dodging some showers, perhaps even a thunderstorm out there, and it turns a lot steamier in the mid-80s. We'll keep those mid-80s going on Sunday as well, as that front essentially gets stuck. It can't decide whether it wants to be a warm or a cold front, basically, but then it's going to get out of here, and that next system moves right in its wake, looking ahead to early next week. So today's a day to enjoy, bottom line here, because we are going to stay totally dry throughout the better part of the day. When we say late, we're talking overnight. Most of you are probably going to be in bed by the time the showers start to dot the region, and they should be pretty creep into abnormally dry conditions. This isn't enough that we're going to have to really start worrying about the drought. We're really just on the lowest end of the totem pole at this point. So the bottom line is, overnight specifically, we'll probably start to see a couple of showers erupt across the area, but the rest of today looks beautiful overall. 75 with sunshine. We look ahead to the weekend, though. Now, even though neither day is a washout, it's steamy this work here, and they're reporting a mixed bag of temperature readings here. We've got 50s, we've got 40s, and we've even got a couple of 30s, and that's actually, we're going to start off on the lowest end here. Eileen Murray sending in clear skies from Gilbertsville, but 39 degrees, so it's a chilly start for her. She needs a jacket. Even I need a jacket, and we're in one of the mildest spots in Philadelphia. Brisk air is definitely going to wake you up, though, she says, and that's certainly true. Meanwhile, we promised you some pretty sunrise pictures, and here's one of them already. Lovely color in the morning sky, she says in her caption, and yeah, we're just off to a nice start here. So overall, some very pleasant weather to enjoy yet again today. 51 was sent in from Lynn. She's just got a handful of clouds out in Cherry Hill, and she also suggests this: wear a sweater. It is a little chilly out there, even at one of the mildest observations that we've got out there for you. 39, another observation from Mark out in Chatsworth. Let's go ahead and take a look at a nice wide zoom of Storm Scan 3. I want to give you a sense of what's going on with this. Brings in its warm front, which kind of can't decide, do I want to be a warm front? Do I want to be a cool front? So it's going to get somewhat stuck over our area. System number 2, not looking all that organized, but you can see more activity down towards the LA area. That's rolling on in, and eventually that moves east as well. So we're going to deal with essentially a 1-2 punch of 2 different systems here, looking forward to the weekend and even beyond. So today's a really good excuse to do some grilling. Who might be firing up the grill on a Friday afternoon? It's our bacon lover, Victoria.
Yay!
Bacon cheeseburgers for everyone at her place. Sweet. So sun and clouds for you, 75 degrees. This graphic just cracks me up. It's one of my favorites. And we look forward in this eyewitness weather 7-day forecast, expecting the mid-80s to return by tomorrow. Steamy for sure. Scattered showers and thunderstorms to go along with that. No day is a washout if you've got outdoor plans just out of the sky. I wouldn't cancel, though. And then Monday and Tuesday, a little cooler by comparison, but again, a shower or thunderstorm. Good morning, everyone. We start things off here with a very steamy forecast, or at least a steamy morning. Eventually, though, it's going to heat up easily with a little bit more sunshine. But we are finding temperatures here generally within a degree or two, or several, of 60 degrees. Here, we're going to start things off at 59 degrees. This was sent in to us just west of Philadelphia. Bill sent that in from Cardington, that there's plenty of fog. He's got a very, very modest wind out there, allowing, with all the moisture content in the air, and even some light drizzle, all of that fog to form. So it's definitely going to reduce increase your visibility. And he also reminds us to get out the vote here today. Good reminder. Meanwhile, we'll take you across the Delaware River, where Lynn Springer is also reporting the fog in Cherry Hill, and she is saying it's soupy. I love that phrase for it. It's the proverbial pea soup effect. Feels like another bad hair day. Yeah. A lot of clouds in Willow Grove, but not reporting any rain. So it kind of just depends where you are, what you're finding in terms of precip, but everyone's off to that damp, muggy, steamy start. So yes, humidity is going to bother your hair today. That's for sure. Storm Scan 3, though, does show us this frontal boundary, or at least the beginnings of it. And we'll eventually get some sunshine out there. But as this front crosses, your back edge is way back here. So we need some time for this to get through. So what you're finding here right now, that's not the precipitation associated with the actual cold front passage. It's just sort of leading up to it. We do, however, see a second round firing up later today, and that's wherein our potential for severe weather is going to lie. So notice it's basically north of Philadelphia that the risk for severe weather is there. A low risk, but a risk nonetheless. So it's certainly worth a mention for strong winds, heavy downpours, possibly even some small size hail. It'll be something we've got coming up on Friday. It just turns really nice once again, and it looks like that's going to hold for us for the better part of the weekend. For now, we're up to 72 degrees, less humid, cooler obviously by comparison, and tonight will be a comfortable one for sleeping with the windows open, although the clouds are going to start to be gradually building with that disturbance headed our way. So we're pegging the high to hit at best 69 to feel a little cooler. Sometimes at the height of summer, this is exactly what you want because it feels refreshing. But on a morning like this, now that it is a little bit cooler outside, it is going to make it feel a smidge cooler to you anytime that wind blows. As the day progresses, temperatures are going to rebound, of course, with full sunshine, but we are expecting at best the lower 70s here today. So even a smidge cooler than average with our expected daytime high of 72 degrees. But overall, it's still a nice day. Now we look ahead to tomorrow. This is one little hiccup that we'll have to dodge here. There's a storm system nearby to our south, and that is going to have an indirect impact on our area, which we'll discuss. Probably a shower, though, generally through the southern counties. That's the story. And the holiday weekend at this point is looking pretty good. That modest northwest breeze kicking in, but also just a handful of clouds for him. And he said it's cool and breezy. Looks like it's going to be a nice day, though. He's absolutely right. Enjoy it. That's the key. And we've got a couple opportunities for you to enjoy that nice weather. Nice and clear for John out in Percy at 58 degrees. Almost perfect weather, he says, to wake up to. You know, I slept with the windows open myself last night, and it was awfully comfortable, wasn't it? Meanwhile, Storm Scan 3 showing what's up here across the rest of the United States. So we've got high pressure on our side here today. That's going to hold tough for another day. But part of this disturbance is actually going to ride east. It will be setting itself up over North Carolina, but it does appear as though it's going to nudge far enough north to eventually bring in a couple of showers to our southernmost counties. So Delaware, the whole state, and then possibly southern New Jersey. You'll also pick up on a shower tomorrow, and generally everybody else just gets clouds. For now, though, as high pressure builds in, the cooler air returns, but it's not really going to last all that long as you look ahead in this Eyewitness Weather 7-day forecast. Granted, we're going to go on a little bit of an up and down path. I stumble on my words way more often than you do, so, you know. You're right. It's early in the morning for all of us. Let's get the cobwebs out and start fresh here. Let's go ahead and take you on out to the Eyewitness Weather Watcher Network, where we're finding overall some temperatures that are basically on par with what we saw yesterday. They are a little cooler. We've got a couple of 40-degree plus temperatures here, but we'll start things off in the middle at 54 degrees. This was sent in to us from Lynn. She's got a mixture of sun and clouds right now, even though the sun is just about popping up here out in Cherry Hill. We're going to go to another 54-degree temperature reading here from Sandra, one of our newbies to the program. So welcome. And she's out in Burlington, New Jersey. She's actually going to Rutgers Camden, congratulating the class of 2015. I love that. So congratulations to those folks. That we're going to have somewhat of a dreary day unfolding because of this system that's nearby. And I want to explain how things are moving along in the atmosphere with this. So it would appear that we've got just this wall and shield of showers headed our way, right? But here, down here, is actually the center of rotation with the storm system that's going to be messing with our forecast today. So essentially what happens is you'll see the moisture sort of rotate. This batch either fizzles or sort of drops south, and then it all sort of just comes right back in from the south. So it's not like you're going to see just this wall of showers move in from west to east today. A lot of times that is what happens, but not this time. What can you expect, though, in general? Cloudy, dreary. We'll call it chilly because it's chillier by comparison. Heavier rain is going to be rolling through our southernmost counties. We're talking Shore Points, southern Delaware, but I would say in Philadelphia and right within that vicinity, we're really not dealing with much more than a couple of showers this afternoon and evening. Meanwhile, by tomorrow, the sun comes back. It's breezy, but it's a lot more pleasant, and the weekend just looks awesome. Maybe
maybe a shower
here so far this morning because some of them have actually been really, really good. And I want to show you the one here up a little bit further northeast of Philadelphia, out in Burlington specifically. Sandra sent in just a couple of clouds this morning. This just within the last 10 minutes. The sun is now beginning to pop over the horizon, so it's going to brighten things up. But it's 58 degrees for her. And I just love this photo she sent in. Look at all the flags lining the front walkway here. And her caption, I know probably a little small for you to read, but it says, "Thank you. Enjoy this Memorial Day. If you have the opportunity, also thank a veteran," which I just thought was really nice. So I want to take you back out to the map here. Generally, you're finding low 60s around the rest of the region. 63, for example, sent in from David. He's in Clementon. 60 from Jason down across Delaware. And then we've also got 59 that came into us from Fran. Meanwhile, Storm Scan 3 is still empty locally. You know, we've still got high pressure on our side. Off to the north, obviously, some wet weather, but none of that's going to be messing with us here today. And he is still ruling the roost. It's a little bit larger of a dome than this, but just for demonstration purposes, with this high in place, we're going to start seeing our wind flow turn more southerly, and that obviously not only brings in the heat, but also the humidity. So with time and every passing day, it's not only going to get hotter, but it's also going to turn a lot more sticky outside. So man, it feels like summer outside. Warm and breezy in the meantime today. 86 degrees. Happy Memorial Day to you. 66 degrees tonight under a generally clear sky. It will remain mild and start to feel a little muggier with time. Check it out. 2 days straight at 90 degrees. That's what we're expecting right now. And even Thursday, despite perhaps not even hitting 90 degrees, it's going to feel like it's in the 90s anyway. By Wednesday specifically, we'll start to see this sluggish front creeping far enough east that we'll start to get in, I think, on a couple of scattered showers or storms. That's Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday right now. So everything would be scattered, but that's when we're finally. And good morning, Yuki. Good morning, everybody. We can expect to see some very warm air in place here today. Also a lot steamier as the day progresses. So if you're lucky enough to have maybe a nice extended holiday weekend and you're pulling out every final hour that you can finally get at the shore, this would be a great excuse to do it. We've got temperatures that are already off to a pretty mild start. We'll start things off at 63 degrees, sent in to us from Sandra. She's got full sunshine out in Burlington, and she's loving the cool mornings and the warm afternoons. But I think for a lot of people, later today is going to get a little too humid for comfort here. 59 degrees sent in to us from, if we can get it, there we go, from Mark. He, again, has full sunshine to start things off here, sent within the last half hour. 59 degrees. Even though it's cool, he said, the humidity is very obvious for him. And again, it will become very obvious for everyone as the day progresses. William sent in that full sun as well. He's out in Woodbine where you can see that arrow. I mean, that's it. It's a satellite and radar composite here. You've got a clear sky right now. All is looking pretty good here this morning. You're going to have sun glare issues, certainly, if you're going to be traveling eastbound here today. But you can see there's obviously a lot of activity sort of trailing around a large dome of high pressure. That's where this has all been coming from. So with high pressure now starting to just nudge out to sea, it's allowing more of that southerly component to the wind flow to send the heat and send the humidity our way. And eventually it allows that front to start to cross our area. In the meantime, the UV index, it's up there. I mean, this is classic summertime heat and humidity for you. We're at least at an 8 on the UV index in Philadelphia the next 2 days, but we are going to start to see a bit more activity in this pattern, especially by tomorrow. Far north and west suburbs, you might see a shower storm toward evening, but most of us are dry today, and it's hot at 90 degrees. Mid or upper 80s, just generally the story then into the upcoming weekend. And like, what is that? I don't even know what that means. Okay, guys, we're going to shift gears. Yesterday, NOAA's Climate Prediction Center issued its Atlantic hurricane season forecast, and I want to walk you through what just an average season would look like. On average, you would end up with 11 named storms. We've already got Anna in the books. Remember, we had our A storm, 6 hurricanes, and 2 of which would become major storms. Meanwhile, this year is expected to be generally below average because we're going to see 6 to up to 11 named storms, 3 to 6 of which may become hurricanes, and maybe none of them at all become major, but up to 2 major storms. The thing to remember here is it only takes 1. Remember, we had Andrew back in 1992, and that was a devastating storm system. Now, the most important factor that went into this year's forecast is El Nino, and that is just basically means Eastern Pacific is warmer than average in terms of its water temperature.
but that will negatively affect, notably by increasing the amount of wind shear. In other words, the rotation of wind as you go up in the atmosphere. And that can just rip the top of a storm apart. So that not only would inhibit storm formation, but also the intensification of any storms that try to develop. In addition to that, we've also got generally just normal and average sea surface temperatures, and they're not going to be as warm as they were the last few years. So less energy from the ocean would help to drive these storms. But again, remember that a below average forecast doesn't mean that you won't have a strong storm come your way. So as we said, you know, below average season, but you can't let your guard down. Meanwhile, let's take you out to the situation at hand. No activity in the tropics and the Atlantic, but we do actually have our first depression out in the eastern Pacific right now, interestingly enough. In the meantime, more strong storms developing at this hour. We'll turn this telestrator on. More strong storms right now developing across portions of Oklahoma and Kansas. And we also have our own frontal boundary. You can draw the clouds right here moving on to the east. And eventually we're going to see a fresh round of showers and thunderstorms fire up. They should not be as feisty as they were yesterday. We may find a few embedded heavier downpours, but right now we don't expect the severity of the gusty winds that we had yesterday. But otherwise, I'd say it looks very similar to yesterday. Upper 80s and expecting that sun and eventually some showers and storms. By tomorrow, we should get a little bit of a break in the humidity, and then over the course of the weekend, good pool day Saturday, more showers and storms. The CBS 3 morning team is on the 2015 Atlantic hurricane names list. Is that true or is it false? What do you think?
You know, I doubt very seriously there's a Victoria or Ulysses on there.
Do you now?
But I'm sure there's probably a Erica or Katie.
So you're going to say true?
I'm going to say true.
I too shall say true.
Okay.
I, 3, shall say true.
I, 3 shall say true. Well, you are all correct.
Yay!
But which name is it? Real quickly. Anybody?
You. I'm going with Katie.
I'll go with Erica.
It's Erica!
Hey!
Thanks, guys.
And it's spelled the way Erica spells her name,
with a K, really?
Thank you.
Which, yeah, a lot of times you see the name Erica and it comes with a C in it. Can we get the graphic to advance? There we go. But this time around, it's E-R-I-K-A. And
It's the German spelling.
We thought we might throw you off here. There is actually a Kate on the list this year. Because
If it
we'll
gets
either have
here.
really good or bad luck. But we think it's going to be good luck. In other words, maybe we won't even see a Kate this year
There we
on
go.
the hurricane list that actually pans out. So, yep, that's your list. There are some fun ones on the list, I would say. Victor and Wanda. But yes, no Yuki. There are no U names, unfortunately. Very quickly, not much happening here on Storm Scan 3 right now. One little pocket of some rain that's starting to fizzle somewhat, but moving into Kent County. And then as we look forward in this Eyewitness Weather 7-day forecast, keeping the above average warmth for yet another day. Tomorrow looks like a steamy day with sunshine, and we are going to eventually see a new cold front rumble in here with some showers and thunderstorms as early as Saturday night, but especially on Sunday. So Saturday's the day for outdoor plans for sure. Monday, noticeably cooler. We're stuck in clouds and showers, but then we are going to rebound pretty quickly here as skies clear beginning Tuesday. Wednesday and Thursday at this point look pretty darn nice. So we bring back the very pleasant weather for you on a relatively quick scale day, and that's going to span essentially most of the area, save for southeastern New Jersey, southern Delaware, and then extreme northwestern counties. So right around this urban corridor, we're dodging showers and thunderstorms, which could still be very heavy any time today, essentially. Outside Palmyra Cove Nature Park, even though it is raining, tough to tell since we don't have the light of day just yet, but it's certainly a dreary start to the day. Difficult to make out the center city skyline off in the distance. Off to a muggy and mild start, granted, and we should actually soggy outside. We'll take you a little bit further inland here where Fran sent in 67 degrees out in Nottingham. Within the last 2 minutes, he sent this observation. He did see some wet weather moving through, the lightning moving off to the east, and I like that. It was a dark and stormy night. Absolutely was, and it woke a lot of us up as a result, didn't it? Meanwhile, we take you out to Storm Scan 3 next. We'll show you what's going on here, and there's quite a bit of activity. Well, as we just saw, based on the Weather Watcher reports, not everyone is getting hit. But you're out and about, you're traveling in this, you will be running into some very heavy rain at times, especially if you're traveling right around this zone, around I-95, and then even off to the north, traveling portions of that northeast extension looking pretty rough at this point. But Salem, Gloucester, Camden County, stretching down into western Atlantic County. I mean, eventually, if you're not getting hit now, you will at some point, not even necessarily from this particular batch, but with another round that comes through later on. So it would appear like there's a little break behind this, right? Not so fast to pick right back up again. And if we get enough sunlight, it'll be limited, but if we get enough, it could actually spark some stronger thunderstorms. We are sitting in a marginal risk, in other words, the lowest risk for any kind of severe weather to break out. But High risk of downpours. We've seen it already. That's going to continue with anything that fires up. Just plenty of moisture to work with. Lightning, wind at a moderate risk for us today. And then hail, it's also possible. But we do not have to worry about any tornadic activity. Let's take you through the Eyewitness Weather 7-day forecast. We keep it at about 80 degrees. Steamy out there for sure. Definitely very, very warm and muggy for us with all the wet weather moving through. Drop it back to the mid-70s for a couple of days. And we'll be left really just with some morning showers tomorrow. Then we'll have a chance to dry out. And although we're being optimistic with partial sunshine Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, I do still have to throw in at least the off chance that some of you see a shower any one of those days. Justin, we'll send over to you. I appreciate that. I'll make it through another minute, and then I'll sit down again. Okay. Good morning, everyone. We want to take you out to the Eyewitness Weather Watcher Network here. A lot of cool air in place here this morning. More of an onshore flow, the reason for that. But, you know, we've got certainly some cool air reports here. Low 50s, generally what we're finding around most of the region. Lynn sent this in to us from Cherry Hill. Just clouds for her right now. Right now, it looks as though the rain has at least taken a break. And she loved this weather. Fantastic, she said, sleeping with the windows open last night. Cool rain, the storms, she loves it. You know, I think for a lot of people, it's their thing. For me, I like 75 in sunshine personally. But yeah, you know, if this was your thing, you had a great day yesterday. Conchie, out where Matthew is located, 52 degrees, the temperature. He does have a little bit of wet weather, a couple showers, fine drizzle moving through. Said we needed the rain. Very true. Nice temperature to go with it. Again, cool air is his thing. So there you go. It's been generally just slowing itself down with every model run. Now it looks like it is going to gradually continue its sag off to the south here, but it's going to then end up pestering us by hanging out nearby. So we'll have to deal with some additional showers in this forecast. Flash flood watches are still posted, really just for the next 15 minutes or so. They are expected to expire as of 6 a.m., but I did want to show them to you one last time. Watch out for standing water, that kind of thing in some locations. As we head into the Eyewitness Weather 7-day forecast, it is a cool day because of the onshore flow. We're going to see these temperatures start to rebound nicely. And again, there will still be a shower here and there. Saturday looks like we warm up the nicest here, but there may still be a shower or a storm. And look at the chivalry of Mr. Yuki Washington.
I'm serious.
You're amazing.
Come here.
All right, now you can roll me away.
All right, let's go. Ready? You set?
That's good stuff.
I'll throw to Justin. Justin, over to you.
90-plus degree day we had to 76 on Monday, which wasn't terrible. Then we couldn't even break the 50s yesterday. We do think we're going to crack into the 60s here for both Wednesday and Thursday, but the chill is in the air, and it will continue to be so here today. So cooler by comparison to what we would normally find, and certainly what we've been used to as of late. But we should see at least a slow climb on that thermometer reading throughout the day and a slow drop off to the south throughout the morning with any of that wet weather. So that's what you've got. Humid. He does have a little bit of fog. I was worried about some of us finding up that way, but he can see the start of the sunrise on the horizon. That's a plus. And I'd say the further north you are, the more likely it is, in fact, that you're going to see some sun here today. 53 degrees was sent in from Fran. He is out in Nottingham where he's actually got a little bit of a fine drizzle. He's sort of right on the northern fringe of where we still have any moisture rolling through our area. It said we needed the rain. Brown spots on the lawn are definitely getting green again, which is great to hear. So yeah, you know, you got to look on the plus side here. I know it leads to dreary. The dreary weather sort of brings your mood down maybe a little bit, but we did really need that rain. May was gorgeous. Let's enjoy the fact that we had such a beautiful month of May. But now we got to catch up a little bit because we didn't have very much precipitation. Bulk of moisture is actually down across the Carolinas today, but you can see we are right on that leading edge. All of Delaware, southern New Jersey that end up with the best shot for any additional wet weather here today. But again, we go back out to this health report. Pollen levels are starting to get back up, creeping up a little bit here to a medium level, but air quality is great. UV index is definitely low with more clouds than anything. And you essentially don't even have a heat index just because these temperatures are where they are at here for the next few days. Upper 60s tomorrow, more widespread, but still scattered showers across the region as a whole. Friday, still possibly a shower. But right now, the weekend is looking up. It should be a little bit not only milder, but nicer. Victoria over watching. Thanks for sending in the ops, guys. We've got temperatures, again, generally mid-50s, and we'll go right into one of those within the last 10 minutes. Sandra sent in 55 degrees. She's got a mixture of some clouds and, yeah, a little bit of sunshine. Crisp, cool. I like the way she put this breathable air. You definitely have great air quality because of the pattern that we've been in the midst of lately. So that's some good news. 57 degrees, the temperature sent in from Sandor. I believe he's one of the newbies to our program, so welcome. He sent this within the last couple of minutes. 57 degrees out in Newark. Again,
and he also too has some clouds and a little hint of sunshine. No rain though, he said, is a bonus. Looking forward to any sun we can finally get out there, and we will eventually get in on that. But this pesky system, it has just been plaguing us now for a couple of days, and it eventually is going to get swept out to sea. But for now, we're still right on the verge of the leading edge of the moisture here. So we've got to at least allow for a shower, but I think it's going to be pretty going on out across the eastern Pacific. Look at the structure of what is now Hurricane Blanca. It is a very powerful category 4 hurricane. The problem is a lot of times we see these storms just continue out to sea, no harm, no foul. But this one is actually expected to continue to move northbound. So this is very likely to bring in some very, very heavy rain, torrential rain across the Baja, and that'll even likely start to move on into portions of the desert southwest, where frankly they could use it, but it could lead to some major problems. Meanwhile, for our forecast, we warm it up with time, back into the 80s by Saturday, shower storm there, but Sunday right now is looking absolutely beautiful. If you are perhaps on the way to what's going to be rolling through here for us late tonight and especially into tomorrow, bringing in a fresh shower or thunderstorm chance, but it zips out quickly. So the weekend overall, not looking bad. But this is going to kickstart the beginning of more of a speedy flow in our atmosphere. So we're going to see, you know, a system here and then a day off from any wet weather, and then another system and then a day off, you know. So things do start to speed up in the flow. Now, the U.S. Drought Monitor finally did issue its most updated drought monitor status. And certainly the most exceptional drought still goes to the far west coast. But we here, with all that rain we ended up with on Monday, really did end up seeing a lot of that drought alleviated. Still technically abnormally dry through the northern tier of our area. But you see how this moderate drought has definitely been reduced. That extended all the way down into Bucks, Montgomery, and Chester County as of last week. So that early week rain definitely did help us out. Still dealing with a handful of showers here. They're going to be pretty spotty in nature, off and on, anytime later on today or even into tonight. But it does come with a trade-off. Yes, you get rid of this pesky system, but the flow is becoming a little bit more active, and that does mean that we'll see additional systems rolling in here in the days ahead. But, you know, you get a little bit more of a little mixed bag as opposed to just straight clouds for days at a time. Temperatures in the meantime are still holding tight into the very comfortable, I might add, mid and upper 50s across most of the board here. As we take you through this Eyewitness Weather Day Planner, we expect to eventually see a little bit more sunshine, but you will still initially at least be stuck in the clouds. Stray shower will dot the regional radar really at any time here, but with time, this system here, you see a frontal boundary being starting to sort of take shape. You've got more clouds building across the UP of Michigan and Wisconsin, and also some showers out ahead of it across the Canadian border. Meanwhile, we'll eventually end up with that front helping to get this guy out to sea, and that's going to allow not only temperatures to warm up, but also things to finally just get back to reality and normal here. Now, that said, we also have the Belmont 6 going on here on Saturday, and the forecast overall is looking pretty good because of it. Even though we do have to watch that front cross through our area and up at Belmont, you're going to end up with some very pleasant conditions, we think, here. So we'll see how the horses do. Weather not a factor, we don't think, this time around. Looking forward in the Eyewitness Weather 7-day forecast, we're going to keep the temperatures a little bit more moderate for you today, 76 degrees, but still a shower in that outlook. Tomorrow, we're back into the 80s, and there will be a spotty shower or a storm, but I gotta tell you, Sunday and actually also Wednesday, my personal favorite, comes along early week, but then behind it on Wednesday, we've also got some really nice weather. We're gonna switch gears here, guys. Do trivia now. So I know we're flipping script on you here, so I'm glad you're all paying attention. Yesterday, we discussed average annual 90-degree days. If you were paying attention, you would have remembered maybe what Dallas had, but now we're talking Philadelphia. So this is a straight up guess, basically. How many times does Philadelphia hit 90 degrees on average in a year? Is it A, 17, B, 21, C, 26, or D, 30? Now, Erica's not in the room right now. She's got a segment coming up, so we're just going to go with the two of you.
Oh, one-on-one. All right, here we go. I'm going with 26, C. 26,
C from Yuki, okay?
That's what I was going to pick.
All right, well, let's see.
Oh!
Both wrong. The actual
Erica
answer,
would have said A. Erica would have said A.
Erica would have said A. So maybe we'll just have to give that to her. And that said, as I step risk for Delaware and basically central and southern New Jersey. What does that all equate to then? Later today, PM time frame is what we're talking about here. Your main threats are heavy downpours, very gusty wind, as well as the potential for some hail. We do have to at least allow for a slim chance for a tornado out of this. Not a guarantee, obviously, but it's something that we're watching. We'll absolutely let you know if anything were to try to spin up. But in the meantime, meantime, things do start off on a pretty quiet note. We will eventually see thunderstorms firing up later on today, as we promised. 84 degrees the expected high. We only dropped to 71 tonight because this front will not have completely crossed yet. It will, however, start to cross completely tomorrow. So still a shower thunderstorm in our forecast. And despite it being a cold front, we're still going to heat up. The west flow kicks right back in. So we're right back into L's. And that'll start to happen, as we said, later in the day today and heading toward tonight. And at that point, because we'll have built up lots of heat in the atmosphere, we'll have had the heating of the day on our side. So that's when those storms could start to turn pretty dangerous. So 65 degrees the temperature right now at Fehlinger International. We're in the low mid 60s. Generally everywhere else a little bit cooler by comparison up at Mount Pocono. But you've seen a serious spike on the thermometer up that way since yesterday this same time. Temperatures are actually right now in the upper 70s in Birmingham and Little Rock. So really starting to warm things up from south to north here. And our wind flow right now is basically right out of the south. So that means we're morning, even though the sun is trying to hide behind those clouds right now. So that's definitely the right idea. You know, it's certainly a comfortable morning across most of the board. We'll go to one more down in Delaware, where Jason actually has brighter sun than anything. He's out in Middletown at 61 degrees and asking for, hopefully, this rain is that's going to hold off until he's done working for the day. It depends, my friend. When are you done with work? Because eventually these showers and storms are going to be rumbling in, but it's primarily later on this afternoon. So let's walk you through this. Right now, northern branch of our area, Poconos, even clipping the Lehigh Valley in northern Berks County, is this little pocket of some pretty steady rain. But we're looking at a 3-hour loop. This thing's zipping right along. So this is going to get out of here, I would say, probably over the next hour or so. And then everybody's left with some sunshine for at least the majority of the daylight hours. But then this guy gets here, at least the leading edge of this frontal boundary working its way east. And as it does, humidity and building up that instability necessary for maybe some stronger thunderstorms to erupt. So we do sit in a slight risk zone here today, at least through southeastern Pennsylvania. Philadelphia, notice, though, is not included in that. We're actually only in a marginal risk in Philadelphia County. But if you go into Chester, Montgomery, Bucks County, that risk goes up just a little bit, just based on the way the timing looks like it's going to work out. And our main threats are definitely downpours, gusty winds, small hail. Can't totally rule out a tornado, but it's a very slim chance. We'll let you know, absolutely, if there's need for, you to take shelter. But at this point, it's just a low risk. Meanwhile, looking forward in this forecast, still a shower or storm lingering tomorrow, and then we just start heating up. Sun is back. Great pool weather beginning on Wednesday. Justin, there's more on the way in terms of a marginal risk, though, for those severe thunderstorms to fire up today. We're not talking anywhere near the severe weather threat. We are still, as unfortunately, here at the lowest risk, at least, for downpours, some gusty winds, possibly some small-sized hail. Tornado threat looks like it's basically nil here today, so that's good. Looking forward in the forecast, though, for your Tuesday, it's another pretty hot and steamy day for you, just maybe not as much instability of location. That really any time is fair game, at least through midday, for a smattering of showers and or thunderstorms to be firing up. But by this evening, sun's starting to drop down over the horizon and things are starting to clear out overhead. So it should be a lot more comfortable for you later on tonight. In the meantime, let's talk about these storm threats. Anything that fires up again will be scattered, but because there's so much moisture, you could get doused. So I'd suggest the umbrella. You just don't want to take a chance on that. Lightning and wind are still going to be a moderate concern. We could see some small-sized hail. We are not, however, worried about any tornadic activity today, which is a Union fan. I'm at every match, and yeah, I mean, the Suns have been, they just light it up. It's what makes the matches. So yeah, make sure you tune in for that tomorrow, guys. We do want to check in with our Eyewitness Weather Watcher network very quickly. Our temperatures from them are generally very uniform once again. Generally, we're talking mid and upper 60s around most of the region here. We have a couple of comments we want to point out for you here. Eileen sending in just clouds at the moment in Gilbertsville. She tallied up her rainfall total. She had 0.7 inches yesterday evening, 0.4 overnight, totaling up to 1.1. And with the humidity, not the best hair day in the world. I hear you on that one. You need the instant freezer. You just got to find the AC. That's pretty much it here today. Ed Connor bringing in right now a little bit of a mixture of some clouds and sun. He's got 67 degrees in Chesterfield. Damp, warm morning, and at least it is getting lighter with every passing day, just a little bit sooner, he said. So that's definitely a way to look at the bright spot there. 69 came in from Jason. He's got clouds, and he said he had a passing shower about a half hour ago, and that is actually scan at this region-wide zoom. And actually, we'll zoom it out one time for you. We do have the front that's sort of draped all the way back here from New England and even all the way back into Texas. And now, at this point, you can see some moisture starting to get funneled in here. This is actually what's left now of what was Hurricane Blanca. That is actually going to get absorbed by our next front that moves in this weekend. So interesting how long the moisture from a tropical system can really hang on. and that'll eventually come into play for us as we look ahead to Saturday. For now, severe weather threat has been removed off to the northeast, at least the worst of it, but we are still in a marginal risk for downpours, gusty winds, possibly some hail, but this severe weather threat as compared to yesterday is greatly reduced. I want to make sure you understand that. Still the off chance though that some of these storms get a little feisty for that matter. Looking forward to the forecast tomorrow looks great. So, we only get really one day of a break in the action, at least as far as it comes to the humidity and certainly as far as it comes to the wet weather, because we are not going to be tracking any wet weather today. Sunny, nice and warm, upper 80s the expectation. Then we see that very weak little front cross through. So we should still heat up easily to the low 90s out ahead of it. But I could see a spotty shower, very, very spotty shower thunderstorm just getting triggered by that front. Friday, still feeling like we're in, the dog days of summer here. Low 90s the expectation, but we are already tracking the beginnings of a new cold front. So that said, we could see we've got that clear sky. So moonlit for you, and certainly at this point, we've got nice clear skies across the board, all courtesy of high pressure building in. So storm scan is just free and clear at this point. No sign of any kind of wet weather activity at all today with high pressure on our side. So it really does end up looking like just an absolutely beautiful day. We did just have a cold front cross through officially yesterday, so the chances for rain are absolutely nil today. They start to go up, however, a little bit here in the next 2 days, and that's actually because we've got a pretty fast flow in our atmosphere. So tomorrow we're going to see about a 20% chance for some rain just because there's a very weak little front crossing through. Friday we start to see some warm air lifting in that could just add more moisture to the atmosphere, and then Saturday a new cold front is on the horizon. So today, enjoy it. It's just going to be so nice outside. Very warm, granted, sunblock required, but a great beach day, a great day to go maybe hit that Schuylkill Trail. Whatever you got going on will be a great excuse for it. We should hit about 80.
A lot of it.
Well, happy birthday. Good morning, everyone. We do want to check in with our eyewitness weather watchers right now. They're reporting a little bit of cooler atmosphere here this morning for us. Temperatures are right around 60 degrees in a lot of locations. We'll take you to, there we go. We'll take you to 60 degrees sent in to us from John. He's got a nice clear sky up here in Percy. Crystal clear. Looks like it's going to be a beautiful day. He is absolutely right. We'll take you down to 62 degrees where it is currently, at least within the last 5 minutes, 62 degrees. Cherry Hill is where Lynn is reporting from, and she's got the clear sky as well. A warm one coming up here, but definitely a nice day. We'll take you just a little further south. 64 degrees. And you're coming into us from Deirdre. She's got that clear sky. I mean, it's pretty much just crystal clear everywhere. So comfortable, low humidity in Smyrna and everywhere else. And that's because we did just finally see our frontal boundary get out of here. So it's moving out to sea. Waits in the wings off to the west, but it really looks like the brunt of moisture stays to our north. So we'll eventually have, maybe a spotty shower thunderstorm tomorrow, but that's it. Meanwhile, we do have building moisture well off to the west, and eventually that's going to be rolling east as well. So we've got a fast flow in the atmosphere, and that's going to help things not only heat up, but also get a lot steamier with time. Today is the nice day. That said, our eyewitness weather health report featuring moderate air quality. Pollen levels are medium to high, so they're not horrible, but they're not perfect, and that UV index is very high. So granted, while you don't have the humidity, you do certainly still have the heat to keep things very toasty today. Use caution, use the sunblock, be careful. Maybe if you're a little bit more one of those sensitive folks that has to be maybe inside of the height of the day. Low 90s then for the next 3 days. That'll officially make it a heat wave as long as these temperatures cooperate. Victoria?
Of course, and we are certainly starting off that way, but here's what's interesting as we check in with the Eyewitness Weather Watcher Network. We're already in the upper 60s in quite a few locations. So when you start off in warm territory, you can only go up from here with a pattern like this. We've got temperatures currently reported at 66 degrees from Sandra. She's got a mixture of some clouds and a little sun now that's popping over the horizon out in Burlington, New Jersey. Her comment, beautiful morning, actually. Good luck today. She's wishing all of us with the Alex Scott Stand for Hope phone bank. So thank you for that, Sandra. We're going to be kicking that off in just about 15 minutes or so. 68 degrees was sent in to us here from Carrie. She's actually got more sun than anything in Mount Laurel. And as she said, it's going to be presiding over a very warm and humid morning, and certainly just a hot and sticky day coming up here, too. Lynn, full sunshine in Cherry Hill. Perfect. perfect day for lemonade. I love that. So again, just in the next 15 minutes, our Alex's Lemonade Stand telethon is going to be getting underway, and I hope you'll see it's getting swept way off to the north. So granted, you can still see the trail of clouds back here and a little hint of moisture with that too. So we've got to at least allow for a shower or a thunderstorm. Could even be locally gusty wherever it pops up, but most of you are dry. It's just one of those things. It's summertime pop-up thunderstorm weather right now, and that's exactly what we'll find. A lot of moisture building across the midsection of the United States. That's eventually going to be a storm system, more so a frontal boundary that crosses our area by the weekend. In the meantime, as we take you forward here in the forecast, we are expecting at least near record territory. Today's high 93, tomorrow 92, and that at least flirts within a couple of degrees of the daily records for both days. So we'll see how we do. Meanwhile, we expect that third day on Saturday to actually hit 90 as well, making it a heat wave according to the forecast. Again, that'll all depend on the temperatures, but looking forward to Sunday and Monday, more of a dose of reality by that point, much more mid-90s across the board. But when you factor in that it's so humid outside, it does of course make it feel that much worse. And with the sunshine baking down on us, you've got to just take it easy. And as we look ahead to Saturday, we are still calling for this to be the first official heat wave of 2015, but we expect to see that next cold front cross through at that point. So you're going to see a few more clouds for sure, but also a shower or thunderstorm along the way as well. Looking ahead to Sunday, we see the temperatures take a little bit of a dive back into the mid 80s, which is at least closer to seasonable, even still a smidge above average, but not as hot nor as humid. That should feel pretty good to you by comparison. And then we look ahead to Monday. We're also going to be tracking a new shot for some rain. Now, in the meantime, the record is actually 95, so we're coming awfully close here. We'll see how we do. 93 is our expected high in Philadelphia, 7th month of June. When was the last year that this occurred? Was it 2008, A, B, 1994, C, 1988, or D, 1964? Quite the variety pack, so I would like to gather your answers.
Indeed.
Natasha's just a blank look.
I know. I got nothing. I'm kidding.
You want to just take a guess?
I'm going to say A.
Okay.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm also with Natasha with A.
Okay. Carol, what do you think?
Since they took A, which limits me, I will take.
You can take A too, Carol.
Let's take 94.
94. Okay, so we're going to start with the A's.
Oh, which means we're wrong.
Oh, man.
You are incorrect, but is it B? Well done, Carol.
Leave it to the meteorologist.
Nicely done. Nicely done. It actually happened twice that year that we had 100 degrees in the middle of June. So, yeah, it can happen. We're not necessarily talking triple digit enough of it that we probably see a quick shower or thunderstorm in some of our northern counties. A little checklist for you here, especially if you have to be outside at the height of the day. Lots of water, guys. Draw the blinds during the day if you don't have the benefit of air conditioning. Remember that your car can turn into an oven in minutes. Do not leave your kids or your pets inside, and always check on your neighbors. Make sure you're taking care of the elderly folks and, you know, getting out there and just making sure everyone's taking it easy too. Great pool day though in the meantime. Tomorrow 90 degrees will officially make it our first heat wave of the year, but by Sunday clearing it out for you, not quite as hot nor as humid. Carol, over to you. Story, not necessarily a solid line of showers and storms, rather scattered. They'll be sort of popcorn type showers and thunderstorms that fire up on the radar, but they could pack a punch with locally gusty wind as well as some very heavy downpours. In the meantime, we should make a pretty solid run toward 90 degrees in a lot of locations, and later on tonight drop down to, thankfully, a less muggy 68 degrees as we start to see those humidity levels dropping off. So tomorrow is my personal favorite of the next 7. It's just a lot more comfortable for you. Still warm, just not oppressive in terms of that humidity. We'll drop it off even what has in store. We are expecting some sun. It's going to help get some of that instability going. So scattered showers and locally drenching downpours and thunderstorms are expected. We will sit in a marginal risk for severe weather today. We're primarily talking about some gusty storms that could produce some very heavy downpours. That's really our story here today. And hot in the meantime. We should easily. Jenkins, he's got the fog settling in Percy. Nice light wind and lots of moisture. He's saying, isn't it a little warm to be ordering us some pea soup? I hear ya. It is absolutely very, very soupy outside. We'll take you to another observation. 71 degrees coming into us with the fog from Lynn in Cherry Hill, and she's got a dew point of 69. You're only 2 degrees away from each other with those measurements then. In other words, this air mass is essentially just totally saturated. One more spot for you, 67 coming into us from Mark. He actually has a little hint of sunlight out in Chatsworth. But let's go back to that eyewitness weather 7-day forecast here, where temperatures are still very toasty today.
day, expecting to see some showers and thunderstorms primarily afternoon, early evening, and then you will cut you a break on that humidity, at least for one day. Tomorrow looks pretty fabulous by comparison. Victoria? Then that moisture, the remnant moisture from Bill, starts to move in, and it looks like our Father's Day, first day of summer no less, may be a very soggy one. In the meantime, today, sunny, less humid, beautiful. 76 degrees, some of the remnant moisture from Bill ourselves by this upcoming weekend. It happens sometimes. Now, today is just a winner. I love this headline, a winner of a Wednesday. You can't get too used to it. Enjoy it while you've got it. Mid-80s, less humidity, very comfortable. By tomorrow, and actually as early as overnight tonight, we see this next warm front lifting in. We'll keep you to about 80 degrees or so and see some showers, locally steady rain, especially in the morning. Now, Friday, the cold front crosses through, kind of lackluster in nature, finding upper, mid, or low 60s. But the key is, regardless of temperature, it just feels so much more comfortable to you. Rob Stewart sending in a mixture right now of a little bit of sun and a couple of clouds here in Clementon. We're going to see more sun than anything. He said he turned the air off for a little while, but the humidity then had him put it back on. His dew point is starting to drop, though, 63, and it will continue to decline in Clementon and everywhere else as the day goes on. Lots of features to talk about here. Not here locally. We have high pressure on our side for one more day, but you can see the trailing front that dropped south yesterday. A new system starting to get its act together well across the plains, and here is what is left at this point of what was Tropical Storm Bill, now a depression, but the moisture with this is what really is going to be the legacy of Bill. Just flooding rain, major flooding rain concerns across Texas, Oklahoma. Really not looking too bad. When you start to see yellows, it makes you nervous, right? Air quality is moderate. It's not horrible, but it is going to be moderate, and we'll keep the pollen at a medium level. Just be careful. The heat index values are going to feel a lot closer to the actual thermometer since we are seeing less humidity, which is good news. So it's a nice day overall. Looking forward in the forecast, though, overnight tonight into tomorrow morning, especially some showers, steady rain pockets move in. Friday, a general break, and then that tropical moisture moves in, especially into Sunday. Time for Father's Day, unfortunately. Meanwhile, we'll get in on it. That's why I wanted to mention it. So for now, warm front today, clouds and showers. Second half of the day, more clouds than anything. And we potentially see a stray shower tomorrow, but overall, it's a brighter day, and we are going to see some sunshine. Then Saturday, not a bad day. Perhaps a shower storm. Most of you end up dry. I would say just make those outdoor plans regardless, because by Sunday, that's when Bill makes his arrival here. But then eventually it sort of just gets wrapped up in the rest of the flow here in the U.S., and it drags all this tropical moisture along with the next cold front into our area. So heavy rain is eventually on the way, but that's not until Father's Day as far as this particular system is concerned. Let's go ahead and take a look, though, at Storm Scan 3 and the circulation that continues to come in with this system. I mean, you've got some heavy rain and really well-defined circulation with Bill, what's left of him anyway at this point. And again, that's what's going to be headed our way with time. Right now, though, we've got our own batch of wet weather to track, and it comes in the form of a warm front right now. So a lot of people getting hit by the rain, and that's what we're certainly hearing from a lot of our eyewitness weather watchers. So that's where we're going to head next. Just check in on a couple of spots. Mid-60s generally around the board. 64 was sent in from Ed. He's got just a light drizzle out in Chesterfield right now. We can go to a different 64 where Sandra is checking in from Burlington also. She had a comment, which I really like. Shower as you take the little ones out to the bus stop for the last day. Meanwhile, our 7-day forecast, coolest day of the pack is today because of all the clouds. You're not going to see very much sunshine. By tomorrow, though, we do brighten things up, and even this afternoon dries out. So I think we're going to be okay here later this afternoon for the PM drive, but we could still see a pop-up shower, perhaps a thunderstorm as we look ahead to tomorrow. It's a Saturday, and then Father's Day. Happy first day of summer, no less. Steamy and very dreary with rain and a thunderstorm. So find some indoor plans as you celebrate Dad. And I do think that, like the chocolate diet, that's what sounds good to me. Like, what's going to make me healthy by eating chocolate? That's all what I'm about. Okay, guys, switching gears here with a little weather trivia for you. The summer solstice is upon us, so that's where this question comes from. June 21st is the longest day of the year. It's the solstice. So by comparison to the second longest day of the year, by how much is it, in fact, the longest? Is it 17 seconds, 12 seconds, 6 seconds, 1 second? What do y'all think? Anchors? I'm going to call with B. B, 12.
I'll choose A.
Okay.
I was actually thinking B myself.
All right,
we can both do B.
Two B's and an A.
Maybe.
Let's see what we got here. We'll see if
Okay, we're wrong.
Sorry.
Whichever she chooses first, Victoria.
Usually that's the way it goes. So
dang.
by a whopping
One measly second.
we get, I know. Savor it, my
Trick
friend.
questions.
Savor it.
Interesting.
Yeah. So the summer solstice coming up for us here this coming Sunday. You're not going to see a heck of a lot of sun to go along with it, but that is when we see the sun's most direct rays on June 21st, right over the Tropic of Cancer. So that's why it is named as such, and we are going to eventually see more of that sunshine for you as we head into Monday. In the meantime, today still a spotty shower, maybe even tomorrow spotty shower storm, but I'd say overall, especially tomorrow, looking pretty good for the next 2 days. Sunday, though, it's just soggy. 84 degrees, heavy rain, embedded thunderstorms, all from that remnant bill moisture. Monday, though, hey, if you've got the day off, and I know a couple people already that do, make it a pool day. Find something to do outside. Perfect and hot summer day ahead here. Victoria.
And then as we head into Thursday, we expect to see some sun return briefly. Now, the sun is out today, as we said, but yeah, it's going to be a hot one. 91 degrees, dropping off only to 75 tonight. And with that beginning to build humidity, that low 75 means you're probably going to want to have the air conditioner cranked if you don't already. Meanwhile, first half of the day isn't going to feel all that terrible to you. Right now, it's nice and mild. You're at 77 currently at the airport, 73 in Atlantic City, and in at 72 in Redding. Even the mid-60s currently up in the mountains, so it feels great for the folks maybe camping up that way. 75 in Palmyra and Mount Holly as well. And, you know, with the fact that you're starting off so warm here, it's not going to take much for us to spike easily toward the low 90s, and that's what we're expecting. Full sunshine in Chatsworth, New Jersey. He sent that to us within the last 20 minutes. Thanks for that. And we'll go to a really warm temperature reading here from Jason. He finding 75 degrees in Middletown, Delaware right now. A few more clouds than what we've seen in some of the other observations, but we expect more sun than anything. And this is going to be a very hot day as a result of that. But like I said, not terribly muggy, so it won't be one of those really insufferable days as it pertains to the humidity. And some of the clouds, even if you look, you see how they've sort of thinned away right over Delaware. So I think that's where Jason was finding that coming from. But high pressure is briefly in place for us here. We do, however, have a new frontal boundary to track at the moment, bringing some very heavy thunderstorms across the Dakotas, the Red River Valley, and eventually that's going to be headed our way in the form of what could potentially end up being some strong to severe thunderstorms. So already this is a slight risk, and we should flip these two, but the slight risk is up here in the yellow, bringing heavy downpours, gusty wind, and perhaps some frequent lightning. Bottom line is any thunderstorms that do fire up, especially in the northwest half of our area, could be locally strong, if not severe. So we'll have to keep an eye on that radar. But that's late in the day tomorrow. So you've got, what, a good solid 36 hours to enjoy until that happens. But it does get hot. Low mid-90s today and tomorrow. And even despite a cold front, you're still stuck in the upper 80s, although with less humidity as we head into people. It's the urban corridor along I-95, all the adjacent counties here. Heat index values are going to be right around the century mark today as we hit that typical afternoon height of the afternoon where you get the most heating. So please keep that in mind. If you're going to go out and maybe hit the pool, you're doing some landscaping, whatever it might be, that's going to be a rough period of time. So keep that in mind. Now, storm timing, generally it's an afternoon evening event, and it moves through pretty quickly. It hits the Poconos, Lehigh Valley, say 4 p.m. Philly in the suburbs right at the height of rush hour. Isn't that always typical? And then towards the Jersey Shore points and Delaware beaches, towards the tail end of what would be a typical evening rush. In the meantime, taking it hour by hour, we expect to see that sun shining brightly, but the three of them, you had high, moderate, slight. Now that's since expanded to include enhanced risk and marginal. So you're basically looking at lowest level of the totem pole to the top level. So we sit right in the middle today. It's definitely not a high risk for severe weather potential, but we certainly have an enhanced risk. In other words, it's a little more than slight, if that makes sense. In the meantime, you're going to be dealing with some pretty significant heat here today. If you can, wear light and loose fitted clothing if you've got to be outside. I always feel so much for the poor folks that are doing out working on construction in this kind of heat. Drink plenty of water. Water is the drink of choice. Draw the blinds during the day if you don't have the benefits of air conditioning. And remember that those cars, they can turn into ovens, especially in this kind of heat with the humidity. It's almost like your own virtual greenhouse. Meanwhile, we look forward to these afternoon showers and thunderstorms to really start erupting this afternoon, early evening. So prime time for rush hour, no less. And then heading already. Not too bad now. He says heat and humidity is eventually climbing. And the advice that we always, of course, give is to stay cool and stay hydrated. 74 degrees was sent in from Lynn. She's got the sun already here in Cherry Hill. And she did send us a picture of that sun starting to climb. If we can get it open. There it goes. With already, you know, a hot sun sunrise, she said, out there this morning. So really just a matter of time before we see these temperatures spike into the 80s and then eventually the 90s. Meanwhile, Mark sent in full sunshine. He's at 72 degrees in Chatsworth, and the list goes on where we're off to a warm start. So the heat is building A, the moisture is building B with more of a southerly component to our wind flow. And as a result, when this frontal boundary gets here, this is a leading edge here, nasty thunderstorms are set to erupt. So the timing is pretty much prime for us to end up with some of the stronger thunderstorms that we'll find with this system. The storm threats are that's a big one. Flash flooding could easily occur with this. Lightning, wind, small hail, all at moderate. Tornado, we're talking probably about a 2% risk of that. So it's very low, but we can't completely throw it out. OK. Meanwhile, the comfort index, talking dew points here, 70-degree dew points. That's really where we sit already. So I'd call that oppressive. It feels pretty darn muggy outside. Make sure that you're taking care. If you've got to be outside, you're maybe a landscaper, you work construction, lots of fluid, stay hydrated. It's all the stuff we always tell you to do, the commonsensical stuff, but please make sure you do it today. Water, obviously, the drink of choice. By tomorrow, humidity starts to retreat, so that's some good news. The sun will shine, but it's certainly going to be very warm, obviously, into the upper 80s, and by Thursday, a few more clouds start to move on in. Yuki, over to you.
Okay.
Canadian border, you've got a few. It's not anything terribly organized yet, but it's a sign of things to come. We are eventually going to see a pattern change, and you'll see that in the 7-day. But first, I want to show you the Eyewitness Weather Health Report. Air quality behind all those storms, helping to wash away the pollen and, certainly any ground level ozone. It's good. Pollen levels have a chance to climb a little bit, though, today because of the drier air, and the UV index, because of bright sunshine, will be a lot higher. So keep that in mind. It really is a beautiful summer day, though. By tomorrow, specifically at night, some showers and perhaps a thunderstorm rumble in. Friday also featuring a shower, too. And at this point, it does look as though not only cooler, some rainy conditions are set to move. We'll start off with lingering showers, but this starts to lift out of here. So granted, you might not see a heck of a lot of sunshine, but you will at least see things dry out. If you have to get outside, you're going stir crazy. Second half of Sunday is looking a little bit better, and we will brighten up nicely, it looks like, by Monday. So that's some good news, and also start to warm up as a result. So today, yeah, it's not quite as hot. It's granted mild. You're flirting with 80 degrees after all, but because of all the clouds, because of this retreating system, because of the cooler pattern that's trying to take over, we only flirt with 80. That's it. We got you into the mid 80s yesterday, which is a lot more seasonable. Tonight, spotty shower, sprinkle, nothing more. We dropped to 64 degrees and looking at least a little bit of a break in between systems. Tomorrow gets dicey. In the meantime, expect for today lots of clouds, isolated, keyword isolated showers. They'll be out there, but this is not a washout of a day, and you're only talking, maybe a couple hundredths of an inch or maybe up to a tenth of an inch at absolute max with anything that fires up out here. So, granted, a lot of us are still trying to just get back to reality and back to normal routine after all of the storms on Tuesday, but you are going to catch at least basically a little bit of a break out there today. Temperatures in the meantime, because of all the clouds that we're expecting, are going to be held back. We'll only be limited to, at best, a trivia question for you here, and I'll be shocked if you all don't get this, frankly. Okay?
Oh,
true
great.
or false? If it's not raining, you're safe from lightning. Is that true or false?
False.
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 Is it? Indeed.
Come on.
That is false.
All right.
Absolutely.
Really? You faked this out with tapping it first.
That
was a layup.
I do feel better, thanks.
Good. I'm glad. And yeah, that's absolutely and the reason we're talking lightning is not because it's in the forecast today, but because this actually was Lightning Safety Awareness Week. So that's an important thing to keep in mind. It may not physically be raining, but if you hear thunder, head inside. You are close enough to a system to actually get struck by lightning. It's always a good rule of thumb. Now, Storm Scan 3 shows a lot of activity here. The train is moving on in here. Why did my graphic just advance? I don't know why that happened. Whoops. But we are expecting to see some wet weather out there. Some showers, some heavy rain beginning to move in for us come tomorrow. We'll see 1 to 2 inches of rain an hour, and then some lingering showers in the morning with some late day clearing. So that's the general synopsis for the weekend. In the meantime, today, still some lingering showers around. Not enough to absolutely warrant the umbrella, but it is going to be somewhat of a dreary day, and we're held back to the mid-70s at best for the weekend, then starting to rebound on Monday and especially Tuesday in advance of our latest and greatest frontal boundary. So the high hits 87 degrees with some sun initially, and very likely a shower or thunderstorm toward the time we hit, or toward the time we see the sun starting to set over the horizon. Victoria, over to you. Thank you. Looking forward, though, I think we could even see a shower or thunderstorm almost
almost any time, even as early as the morning. But as we look ahead to tomorrow, warm front lifts in, brings in temperatures into the 80s, turning a little steamier, and then the cold front crosses through behind it on Wednesday. So you get warm front Tuesday, cold front Wednesday, and that front actually starts to sink off to the south here as we look forward. So what that basically means is that we're going to end up here with some unsettled weather in the days ahead. Mostly sunny and a beautiful day for now. This is the one and only day, at least for the next 5, that we can absolutely guarantee is totally dry for everyone. Partly cloudy and comfortable tonight as we drop to 65. And looking forward in the Eyewitness Weather 7-day, we start to heat up here. Temperatures have taken a little bit of a hit as a result of the clear sky. You're down into the 50s in Allentown and Mount Pocono and Lancaster, mid-60s in Philadelphia, even just shy, in fact, by a few degrees of what's typical for the standards of this particular morning of the year. But it is going to warm up nicely here to very comfortable warmth. We still keep the lower humidity, but you warm back up into the low 80s with sunshine, and down the shore should end up being a pretty nice beach day for get in on some of that ourselves. So that does mean our dew points begin to go on an uphill climb in the days ahead. For now, though, this just feels good. For late June, for the dew points to be in the 50s, maybe no higher than 60 at best throughout the day, that's some good stuff. It'll feel really, really comfortable to you, but that humidity does start to steam up over the course of time as we start to see these fronts moving in, just sort of the difference in the way, you know, the uplift is, the moisture that gets brought into our area. So all of those things sort of factoring in. In the meantime, water temperatures, they're pretty toasty further south you travel, but for us, we're starting to heat things up as well. It's getting there. You know, it's a little bit more my personal tastes anyway, now that we have at least surpassed the 70-degree mark in many locations. And the offshore buoy in Atlantic City, for example, saying 75 degrees. Not terrible. So if you are hitting the shore points today, really not cool air. For late June, you'd never even think of that, right? So keep that in mind. That's where the weather watchers come in. We're so grateful for their observations on the ground. But he said he's looking forward to a sunnier day than yesterday. And yeah, you know, even though we were in transition mode yesterday, we were watching this storm system, which is still visible on the area radar, pulling away. It's long gone at this point. So taking all that moisture with it. High pressure is briefly in place. And then the next system is already waiting in the wings here off to our west. So we will eventually be watching for that to move in as we head toward tomorrow. But for now, it's a good day. Air quality is nice and it's just good. We've got our pollen levels low to medium. UV index, though, still up there. Remember, you've got full sunshine today, so it does not matter how low the humidity is. It's still a nice, strong sun angle, so be ready for that. But heat index, you can basically say there's none out there just because what you see will be what you get on the thermometer, and it's not terribly hot. Pleasant warmth for you, and then starting to steam things up in the days ahead. And notice pretty much every single day features at least a shot for a shower or storm. So today's the one and only guaranteed dry, sunny day of the next 5. But pretty much everything that you see coming through here, no washouts. It's just your classic summertime pattern really unfolding. Justin, over to you. You're into today and tonight, and some of those could be locally strong, especially with wind, if not some small size hail. And even tomorrow, that's your cold front dropping in, and that'll bring us a shower or thunderstorm as well. Thursday, this is pretty much off to the south. Do want to at least allow for a shower to the south. That goes for Friday as well. But for the most part, we're going to see, I think, a nicer day unfold for most of you. In the meantime, humidity starting to ramp up. We're up to 86 today. First pitch forecast for our fills back in town again tonight. There will be thunderstorms in the forecast, but you know, a lot of these tend to be just sort of pop up. They've got to be right over the stadium or at least right over South Philly for them to maybe call that. So we'll have to keep an eye on the radar, but there will be thunderstorms in the area tonight. We'll drop down officially to about 70 degrees through the overnight. Guys, yes. We'll give you a little bit more of an explanation. So basically, we've gotten so good at keeping time that the atomic clock just needs to be accounted for every couple of years. It's not like leap year where you have it every 4 years. It has actually only happened 25 different times. It was added back in 1972. And as you said, to account for the slowing of the Earth's rotation because the moon's tugging on us, basically. So that's what happens. And what will happen is that you get that maritime clock that gets 1 extra second added before we turn it over here. So that can disrupt electronics. It can disrupt internet applications. And actually, the last time they did this in 2012, and this is a short list. This is not exhaustive, but there was at least one funnel cloud in Fogelsville. Trexlertown saw another one. Whitehall Township, you ended up with 1 3/4 inch size hail. Wind damage in North Caddy, and Cedarville picked up a 64-mile-per-hour wind gust. So
These storms absolutely meant business when they rumbled on through last night. And now this latest batch is zipping on through. In fact, where Mark is located in Chatsworth, he's probably getting in on at least a little bit of wet weather here in the Eyewitness Weather Watcher Network. But the brunt of heavy and nastier thunderstorms, that's moving on out. So you are still going to see a shower or a thunderstorm in spots today. There's a good chance you don't see one drop of rain because it will be far less widespread in coverage, but it's definitely steamy. The high 88 degrees, and we will start to see at least things quiet down as we head forward in this forecast, especially in time for the holiday weekend. Victoria, around 70 degrees, just shy of it in some spots. I actually want to take in a little tour around the map here, start things off well off to the north in the Poconos, where our resident Pocono reporter that we hear from very often, he's one of our gold star reporters that I always like to call him that. Keith, he's up in Saylorsburg. He actually has been seeing some rain within the last 40 minutes or so. So within the last hour, that heavy rain is thankfully pulling away. And all flash flood warnings, flash flood watches, all of that has gone out of effect. And he had some lightning earlier. He also said there's quite a bit of standing water on the roadways. So depending on your location, you may still have some travel troubles out there, which of course Victoria is going to be talking about as we progress. In the meantime, we're at 64 degrees coming into us from John Jenkins. He too has been dealing with some of the rain. He had a little thunder to disturb his sleep too. It has quieted down now, and we're going to show you why that is in a second. In the meantime, not too much going on other than cloud cover in Chatsworth, New Jersey, where Mark is located. He's got 68 degrees. He said there's no rain. Are still flooded roadways. Those should have a chance to drain out and recede with time. Currently, we're at 70 degrees at Philly International and stuck basically in the mid and upper 60s around the rest of the region here. When we talk dew point, it's still up there. I think you're going to see it gradually decline with time, but only by a couple of degrees. So by the time we hit the afternoon, you're down to 62 degrees or so. So I would still call this a noticeably humid day. It's not quite as steamy though as what this morning will be, but that said, yeah, you walk out the door, you notice there's moisture content in this atmosphere, that's for sure. So in the meantime, what can you expect the rest of the day? Partly sunny, hot and steamy, the general story. But because we eventually end up with that system generally off to our south, but we are at least expecting the potential for some wet weather. We're going to get to that, but I want to start things off by getting you outside to what's currently going on at the moment in our Eyewitness Weather Watcher Network. We've got, generally speaking, some temperatures that are actually on the cool side through some of the northern tier here, but mid-low 60s is pretty much what you're finding. We'll go out to a list format for you so you can get a sense here. In Gilbertsville, Eileen checks in with 55, and we've got Sandor and Newark checking in at 66, 61 from Ed Connor in Chesterfield, and the list goes on here. Cary's got 62 in Mount Laurel, and that's essentially, just that's the range you're finding across most of the board here. But yeah, a couple of outliers up in the most northern counties where you've got a clearer sky, you've got some cooling that's taking place here, and we have certainly seen our fair share here of some cooling taking place across the region. Now, going out to Storm Scan 3, I want to show you what's happening here. We do have a frontal boundary that's stalling out nearby, so the beginnings of what's most evident with that, but really it's sort of just setting up right here. So with this piece of energy and moisture moving along it, you're going to end up seeing some showers, especially through the southern tier of our area. Meanwhile, some of the heavy rain and thunderstorms that came through the Missouri area we just showed you a second ago, there's the moisture with that, but well off in the distance, it's not even all that formed yet, but you do have some moisture starting to pick up across western Nebraska. Eventually that'll become part of this next system that we were just talking about. I don't think it's going to be a huge deal breaker though. If you've got outdoor plans on Saturday, I say keep them. 30% still pretty low. Granted, while we could see a shower or thunderstorm, it would be of a spotty variety and generally for the second half of the day on the 4th of July. In the meantime, those shower chances for today and tomorrow, that comes from that stalled frontal boundary. So watch for that. And then Sunday and Monday, sunny, hot, great pool weather. Pool party at Yuki's place. That's what I think. What do you think, Victoria?
Yeah,
And off the open ocean water. Moving forward in the forecast, okay, so tomorrow, looking for a shower, perhaps a thunderstorm. It may also produce a brief but heavy downpour for some of you. Not a washout, but because we see moisture seeping into the Delaware Valley, and by Tuesday, we may see our next shot for a shower or a thunderstorm as a very steamy 88-degree high. Wrote down the Philadelphia weather on July 4th in 1776. Was it Ben Franklin? Was it William Penn, Robert Morris, C, or D, Israel Pemberton? Some names I think you all recognize and some maybe perhaps not.
I don't recognize Israel Pemberton at all, and Robert Morris, I believe, is Pittsburgh related because there's a school up there, Robert Morris. Billy Penn or Ben Franklin? I'm going to go with Ben.
Yeah,
he was a
likewise.
scientist.
I'm all about
I
Ben
feel
Franklin
like
too.
William Penn was busy a lot that day. So I'm
Ben
going to
probably
go
was too, but you all thinking A.
Yeah.
All right. What do we have?
And I forgot not to unmute this here, but you're all wrong.
Oh, no.
The answer is actually this gentleman, Israel Pemberton,
Really?
who was known as the King of the Quakers. Could break for some sunshine as the day goes on. That threw me off when the live shot came. I'm like, what is that thing rolling through our shot? Okay, moving on here. I want to walk you through what's going to happen leading into the upcoming holiday weekend as we have our digital weather observation stations taking grip here. We can expect to see today, certainly partly sunny skies, perhaps a shower along the way. That's definitely being represented here in future weather, but overall it's a pretty decent day for us. Now notice the moisture starting to bubble up here. For the most part, it looks like it's going to remain outside of the greater vicinity of the Delaware Valley. But I do want to allow for a shower or thunderstorm. And you can see right here, this is noon tomorrow. Some of the shore points could not only be dealing with a shower, but perhaps even a heavier downpour. It won't be an entire day's worth of that, but it's something that I want you to be ready for out there. So we'll call it a half and half weekend. Not the most I'd start as a result, and you'll see that in the 7-day. For now, though, clouds, limited sunshine, a shower primarily the second half of the day. Perhaps a thunderstorm, your high about 85. Later tonight, we drop down to just 73. That's a sign that that warmth has definitely arrived. And with the mugginess and with the clouds, it's definitely going to feel just uncomfortable as you try to go to bed tonight. So if you've got the air conditioner, take use of it. Meanwhile, we look forward in the Eyewitness Weather 7-day forecast, and we're going to have 2 days or less, so not a major concern. Meanwhile, we're heating up in a big way. I'd say the humidity is probably the most noticeable feature of the forecast today and into the next 2 days, really. 91 apiece both Tuesday and Wednesday, and Wednesday's when that thunderstorm chance picks up a bit for us because of a frontal boundary that's set to move on through. So you'll have to keep that in mind if you do have outdoor plans, and stick with us. We'll keep you posted on the timing. The hill at 70 degrees. But the air is thick outside. She said it feels like there's a bad hair day on the horizon. And yeah, I could concur with that. It's definitely steamy outside. David Dutch checks into 71 degrees. He actually has more clouds than anything out in Clementon, New Jersey. And as we check out what's happening here on Storm Scan 3, it's sort of a classic setup for midsummer, let alone just what you're going to find in the atmospheric movement here in the next couple of days. So for now, it's warmer, more humid air that's lifting in from the south. So that's where this moisture is coming from. That's why it feels more humid. That's why you're going to see more clouds. That's why you're going to have a shower or thunderstorm popping up throughout the day. Way back here, you've got the beginnings, at least, of a frontal boundary that'll eventually be crossing through our area. Thankfully, it does not appear at this point like it would be a major severe weather threat. We'll keep an eye on that. But today, the general synopsis is more clouds and sun, isolated or scattered showers, perhaps a rumble of thunder. And then by Wednesday, we're up to 60%, and that's because we've got an actual line of showers and storms that will be rumbling through courtesy of a cold front. For now, though, look at where these dew points are. I mean, anytime you're basically above 65, you notice that it feels humid. So when you're talking 70s, that's uncomfortable. And these values are very close to our actual air temperatures. So that said, taking a look around the region, you're at 72 currently in Philadelphia with a 68-degree dew point. That doesn't feel so good. 68 as well in Atlantic City for the air temperature. You're at 57 in Mount Pocono, basically the coolest, most comfortable spot of the entire batch here. Looking forward in the forecast, though, we're going to see these temperatures rebound, obviously. Limited sun along the way. Today, it does lead to poorer air quality, obviously. Thankfully, pollen levels are very low, but a moderate air quality issue for you. If you do, maybe suffer from respiratory illness, keep it in mind. UV index will be very high, and I want you to exercise extreme caution if you're going to be out at the height of the day. This is great pool weather. If you're just talking an isolated shower, maybe a rumble of thunder, keep your ears perked too, just in case for that. But 90 degrees with humidity, that's rough stuff to be out in, especially if you're working landscaping, that kind of thing. So take care. 72, it's almost like the magic number, give or take a degree or two across the rest of the board here. So very, very not just warm, but muggy when you walk out the door. Now, we obviously have a very summer-like pattern setting up, but we want to sort of just switch gears and take you around halfway around the world here. And there's a reason for that. We've got numerous typhoons that have been set up across portions of the Eastern Pacific here. So we've got not just Linfa, but also Chanhom and Nanka. Now, this is the one that we want to keep an eye on. Depending on where this goes, the way it decides it's going to track, this may end up having an impact on our local weather, believe it or not, say 6 to 10 days down the road from here. Depending on how these typhoons recurve, head out to sea, hit land, it actually has a very distinct impact, according to studies that have been done, in what our weather pattern will do. We may see some troughing take place. In other words, up in just as hot of a pattern. So it's going to be something that we have to keep a watch on. In the meantime, though, it's just hot and it's steamy outside. And on Storm Scan 3, what we notice at the moment is that we're really just sitting between systems, but a few speckles on the radar indicating we'll see a shower. We may see a thunderstorm, perhaps even in spots, but that front is what comes along next to bring our next real weather feature. So we keep it hot and steamy for today and tomorrow before that front crosses, and we're back of heavy downpours could lead to minor flooding. Doesn't this tell the story? I mean, you look outside Beach Patrol headquarters, it's so misty outside that you can barely even make out the edge of the water here. So very, very moisture-rich air mass. And that said, with showers and heavy thunderstorms building in today, again, you're going to get doused at some point if you're not ready for it. So be ready with an umbrella, some kind of rain gear. Meanwhile, tonight we dropped to 73, still with a shower or thunderstorm in that forecast. And moving forward in the Eyewitness Weather 7-day outlook. Eyewitness Weather Watcher Network, it is a warm start, boy. You've got a couple of 80 degrees out here, mid-upper 70s. In fact, we'll show you the list view here. That'll give you a better idea just in the list format. 73 degrees came from Fran, from Eileen in Gilbertsville, from Mark in Chatsworth, New Jersey, and up toward the Poconos. This is pretty much the coolest spot we've been able to find. 68 degrees from Keith in Saylorsburg up toward the Pocono region. And yeah, it's a warm and very muggy start to the day. We also do have a nice picture that was sent in to us from Ed Connor. He is out in Chesterfield, most typically reporting, and he did have a shot of some of the clouds beginning to move in here, but this was the moon early this morning before the sun came up. In the meantime, let's go ahead and take a look at what's going on out here. Yeah, you know, we're again just waiting. We're just waiting for this system to arrive. So in the meantime, you're going to have certainly some clouds. It's definitely steamy outside, but we should see at least a little bit of sunshine along the way. And here's that front that's eventually going to be scheduled to downpours and likely some gustier storms. All that moisture that we just talked about bringing in the heavy rain through Texas, it's still getting drawn in. There's actually going to be an area of low pressure that sort of redevelops on the tail end of this front, and that's the story for tomorrow. So in the meantime, I wouldn't call the next 2 days the most pristine beach days we've ever seen. We will see at least some sun at the shore, but man, it's hot and steamy outside. Upper 80s for you out that way with some late day showers and storms, and the UV index is a little bit lower just because we're starting to see some of those clouds build in here. Looking forward in the forecast, though, as far as Philadelphia is concerned, and really the rest of the region, tomorrow is mainly cloudy, but we'll see some more showers and storms at night toward evening with that next disturbance. And then to breathe a sigh of fresh air here. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday at this point all look pretty nice, but it will be overnight. So you're not going to be woken up by thunderstorms in the middle of the night. That's some good news, right? Your beach forecast, not horrible as long as you're out early enough. Later today and into tonight, be careful as you hit the boardwalk here, because with some of these storms rumbling in, we want you to take shelter. Meanwhile, heading into the upcoming couple of days, it does get better from here. Still warm, I'll give you that. And that these thunderstorms are rumbling in. Look at how they just peak here, 30s and 20s, and we might even see some stronger wind gusts with any of the strongest storms that rumble on through. The window for these storms generally looks like it would be about 5 to 9 p.m. moving in from west to east, and again, could see any of those severe weather threats come along with anything that bubbles up. For now, we're into the upper 80s today, or I should say into tomorrow. It's a little less humid for you here, so it does progressively get better, but the bullet points on what to expect: strong to severe thunderstorms, heavy downpours, damaging wind, small size hail. I want to quickly show you what's going to happen in the eye point measure is about 69 degrees right now. So you're bordering at that point on the oppressive mark. That's absolutely the case. Really, anytime the dew point hits 65 or greater, you notice the humidity. That's kind of how the rule of thumb works on that one. Let's go across the border here into New Jersey and take you to one more. Mark sending in full sunshine actually where he is in Chatsworth. So you may see a little bit of a mixed bag. And actually in our western suburbs, we're getting some Eyewitness Weather Watcher reports of a little bit of very light rain. You can see why. There's just sort of a precursor of what's yet to come for the rest of us. This little batch of moisture bringing in some showers for the western suburbs, and that may actually survive as it rolls east. But this is the disturbance that we're watching. Once this moves in later on today, we're dealing with the next potential for some heavier thunderstorms, and some that could easily turn severe. So a slight risk has been issued for our area, generally for the region as a whole, but it's more marginal the further south and east you go, simply because of the timing. When you lose the sun, storms
really strong. But I would say just expect that some of the storms could be strong or severe today and into tonight specifically, with gusty wind, possibility of small hail, heavy downpours is the other issue. And then we can't even rule out a tornado this time around, guys. So please stick with us, and we'll let you know if anything were to evolve in that regard. Meanwhile, current dew point for us in Philadelphia is 68. So again, yeah, just like Bill said in the Eyewitness Weather Watcher report, it's bordering basically on oppressive right now, and it looks like it stays that way for the better part of the day. So with all that moisture, you're going to have heavy downpours. Thankfully, humidity retreats by tomorrow, as does the wet weather. And we're really at this point looking at one of the first completely nice weekends that we've had in a while. Although it is going to be hot, it looks like tomorrow and Saturday, limited humidity. It starts to creep back up on us.
Even though my heart says A, my head says
really
C.
wants the
That would
rainbow.
be amazing. I'm going for what I'm hoping it will be, but I know it probably isn't, but a rainbow.
Okay, so let's see if it is in fact a rainbow. 3 days in a row.
Don't do that, Katie. Yeah. I knew it.
Wouldn't that have been nice, though?
That would be
All right.
lovely.
Is it record rainfall, though?
Oh.
Sorry, Nicole.
That's all right.
However, is our friend Erica correct? Indeed.
Hey.
Take
There
one.
you go.
There you go. One for the
Way to
anchor
go.
desk. Well
I
done,
appreciate
you.
that.
And, you know, we actually did see a rainbow last night. We're going to show throughout the course of the show this morning. There was a great picture that was sent in to us from one of our Eyewitness Weather Watchers, Dolores, which, again, stay tuned for that. But for now, the best news I can give you is the fact that these storms are out of here. They are so long gone. The humidity is dropping. The skies are clearing. Looking at some of the area temperatures, granted, it is still mild, according to the weather watchers. You've got temperatures right around or just shy of 70 degrees up in the Poconos in Nottingham, PA. So some of your more remote suburbs, granted, a little cooler, but just indeed. And we've got a fun one for you today. I like this question. From July 9th to the 11th in 1936, I know we all remember it well.
Yes.
Philadelphia had 3 straight days with a rainbow. Is it a rainbow? A, is it B, severe storms? C, 100-degree temps? Or D, record rainfall? Could be any, don't you think?
Yeah, I'm going with
So,
D.
Necessarily exactly where things are going to show up, but it gives you a good sense of the fact that, okay, timing things out here, we'll start to see some heavier moisture about the time a lot of you are out maybe on the highways. So you got to keep that in mind. And then a nice little bullseye, that's lovely, just centers itself right over Philadelphia about 2 p.m. or so. So we'll likely see a few pockets of some heavier showers and thunderstorms, and then it even lingers heading into early morning Wednesday. Then we've got the cold front that needs to cross through, so that's going to usher in a shower or a thunderstorm. And what you might expect out of this is that with limited sunshine, the UV index goes on a little bit of a roller coaster ride, especially for tomorrow. So, you know, we're still up there. We're still in the high range, as we'd call it here on the UV index, but you're not going to have the bright sunshine like the weekend produced. In the meantime, expect today to feature a mix of those sun and clouds. The high very seasonable at 87 with humidity creeping up on us. And later tonight, it'll do the same. We're down to 70 degrees. Moving forward, some sunshine out there today. We look ahead to tomorrow, though, and the showers or thunderstorms are likely to cross through. And just because we're building up the moisture, it's that time of year when you've got, more warmth in the atmosphere, it can hold a lot more moisture. So we expect to see a couple of embedded heavier downpours out of this, and that'll keep the theme going even on Wednesday as the next cold front crosses through. So warm front, cold front, then it's out of here, and we can start to breathe a little bit easier here, it looks like, by Thursday. In the meantime, taking you outside to our area weather watcher network, you know, we've got a couple of temperatures here in the 60s, even the 70s, so it's a mild start for us here coming in from Bath and places like central and southern New Jersey. Sun and clouds for us along the way here today. Some of the models trying to pick up that we might see a quick shower, but I think that's the exception for most of you rather than the norm, and even into tonight, that's kind of the story. Meanwhile, though, by tomorrow, I'd keep the umbrella on standby. You know, with showers and thunderstorms sort of have some leftover ponding that is left on the roadways. Now, here's that disturbance, that complex that we were just talking about that moved through the Illinois area yesterday. It is continuing its path off to the south. So that is not going to be a major player at all for our weather pattern. We're just dealing with a warm, then a cold front. In the meantime, the severe weather threat, it's out there, but we are thankfully right on the edge of it. So it's a little bit of a lesser threat for us here today. But we've actually already seen some of what the severe weather could entail, and we're seeing it out there on the area radar now with the heavy downpours, the gusty wind, and some of the frequent lightning that has been accompanying some of those heavier thunderstorms. So it's steamy and stormy as we walk through today and even into tomorrow. We're still tracking a cold front. That's got to cross through. So eventually another round of showers and maybe heavier thunderstorms will be moving in. Come Thursday, humidity starts to drop off, and we're going to be left with a really nice end of the work week, which is definitely good. How the radar is going to be looking
looking for the better part of the day here. Outside we go to Beach Patrol headquarters, not necessarily dealing with any wet weather at the moment, but this atmosphere is certainly moistening up. You are going to eventually end up with some showers or thunderstorms at the area beaches. So it's not the best beach day ever. And really across the whole board here, showers and thunderstorms will be, again, scattered in nature, but producing heavy downpours at times, ponding on roadways, which of course always leads to slow travel. So keep it in mind. Taking you around the region as a whole here, we're talking mid-70s generally speaking from AC up towards Philly, and a little bit cooler the further north you go into the highest terrain, obviously. But for the most part, most of us are at least flirting with or already into the low and mid-70s. Bring warm, moist air into the region, and it's certainly doing that this time. You've got dew points in the upper 60s, low 70s. Higher that dew point is, the worse of a hair day it tends to be. And what you're going to end up with is a more of a humid day. 74 degrees the current temperature, meanwhile, at Philly International, as well as in AC, where we just showed you that camera view. But we do have those showers and thunderstorms around. The expected daytime high today is right where it should be. It's mid-July. 87 degrees the expected daytime high temperature. Threat to the U.S., but it's obviously worth a mention. Claudette has since formed. It is expected to maybe even just clip portions of Newfoundland as it tracks off to the northeast here. So the surf could get maybe turned up for the New England shoreline and definitely become more of a problem for Atlantic Canada in the days ahead. But obviously something interesting to talk about in the tropics, since we haven't had a heck of a lot to talk about in the tropics lately. Temperatures are currently into the mid-70s across most of the board, save for your more remote suburbs the further north and inland you go. But your Eyewitness Weather 7-day forecast keeps it in the mid and even as well as flash flooding issues because of it. And that said, we do still have flash flood warnings. The arrow, for whatever reason, continues to point in the wrong direction, but that is to address these green shaded areas and a flash flood warning down through sort of that maroon colored area. So with the heavy rain that continues to fall through our area, we are going to be tracking these showers and storms, much like yesterday, in scattered fashion. But until the front actually gets through, there's still so much moisture to work with this saturated air mass that any downpour could come through swiftly. It could bring with it some heavy wind gusts as well as frequent lightning. And again, much like yesterday, it could happen at any time. Heading into tomorrow, though, oh, it's so much nicer. Breathe in the fresh air, the lower humidity, the temperatures that are back in the mid-80s, and that lasts us right into Friday. Come this weekend, we'll start to steam things up for you once again. However, we're flirting with or actually hitting the 90-degree mark actually for several days straight here, and we'll also potentially see a shower or storm as early as Saturday once again. Victoria, over to you. We did the exact same thing in maybe it was like 42nd Street subway station, and nobody had a clue.
It's what we do.
It's like nobody had a clue who they were, and then they take the masks off, and everybody's like, "Oh, that's awesome!" It's like
she needed to do a big reveal.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah, I get that, but I feel for her, you know, because she is an excellent performer. Okay, we're getting way off on a tangent.
Yeah.
Let's I could go on about this, but guys, we've got some serious weather issues to discuss here, and I'm starting things off just with a view of our live neighborhood network. Off in the distance, you're probably going to squint your eyes here, but you can still see the center city skyline. This is one area where some very heavy thunderstorms have already rolled on through. We haven't had too much luck, I guess you could say, finding any lightning strikes to come up in our cameras at the right time when we're on the air, but you can see there are plenty of lightning strikes currently occurring, especially on the tail end of this loop through Gloucester, Camden, and then also right up the pike here along I-78. Perhaps if you travel into New York City, you take the bus, something like that, you may enjoy that. Then we take you into the upcoming weekend, and that's where things start to get far more summer-like. So not just one, but two, but three, but four separate days that we expect to hit at least 90 degrees. Along the way, spotty shower thunderstorm both tomorrow and probably on Sunday too, but not enough to cancel your outdoor plans. Monday, they might have a little bit more heft with them. And then come Tuesday, even though we're going to clear out, it's still hot again at 90 degrees. Okay?
I'll go A, true.
Okay.
I'll go A. I'll go both. No, I'll go A, true.
All right, let's see. Is it true? It is.
Well done.
And just for the sake of hearing the sound, it's my favorite. Those of you that said B, you're wrong. But yes, 3 different times Philadelphia is actually seen at the month of July with no 90-degree days. So it doesn't happen all that often, but it does happen. Now, this is going to be a July that definitely it does happen, because we're going to see a new heat wave develop here by the time we hit the upcoming weekend. For now, the Storm Scan 3 is empty at the local level. We continue to track, however, a new disturbance, obviously starting to move on through portions of Michigan, and that's going to be headed our way here by the weekend in the form of a warm and then a cold front duo. So
in the meantime, you've got another really pleasant morning to enjoy. Kids, the elderly, take care today, guys. Our eyewitness weather health report isn't all that hot here. Your heat, that's definitely no pun intended there, because that is frankly going to be the kind of heat that can be dangerous. Heat index values, we call it the dangerous level here. It gets to the point where you want to be inside in the cool air as much as you possibly can. If you don't have the benefit of an air conditioner at home, go to the library. Find a place where you can just cool down, because this is brutal stuff. 95 degrees today. Watch for an isolated shower or a thunderstorm. That'll be the story heading into tonight, but we keep it muggy for you. Then that secondary front comes along tomorrow. We stay hot at 93 degrees. Watch for shower or storm yet again. Lynn, she's out in Cherry Hill where there are nothing more than a few clouds right now, but she's already at 80 degrees. Very sticky for her. She said even without the sun up, it feels like it's 85. Her dew point is at 76, so that makes sense. Taking you a bit further off to the south, 82 sent in from David Dutch. He's got nothing more than a few clouds, and he is already reporting heat index values at 91 degrees. And again, the sun is barely up. So that gives you a sense. I mean, you start off so warm, you can only go up from here with this pattern. 74 degrees sent in from Nottingham. That's Fran's report. Major mugginess. I like that one. It sounds like a superhero or something. I don't know. A cartoon character. Let's go on out to Storm Scan 3 next. Tracking two separate frontal boundaries, but they're not really strong fronts. So what they are really going to do is maybe help trigger a quick shower or thunderstorm later in the day. You can see sort of, if you draw the line of the clouds, not too much moisture comes along tomorrow to help trigger additional showers and thunderstorms. But do we have a heat wave yet? Well, not quite yet, folks. We just came 1 degree shy of hitting 90 degrees on Saturday. We did it obviously yesterday. We'll hit 95 today, and we're shooting for 93 on Tuesday. But in the meantime, heat wave or not, we want you to play it safe out there. If you can, wear light, loose-fitted, colored clothing here. Avoid strenuous activity, especially at the height of the day. Seek out the air conditioning. It's your best friend on days like this, and stay hydrated. Water is the beverage of choice, okay? Mid-90s, the expectation both today and tomorrow. We keep it in the mid and upper 80s on Wednesday through Friday. But despite the sun and the heat that's back, at least the humidity, Erica, will finally take a bit of a break. It makes such a big cool you down. The problem is it's not going to be very widespread, so we're actually going to end up with more heat tomorrow. So it's another day that's going to be, easily in the mid-90s here. We expect an excessive heat warning to remain in effect until 8 p.m. tonight. Heat advisories everywhere else until that same time. And outside we go here to Palmyra Cove Nature Park, and things are quiet here. And actually, if I step over to the side, the belly continues to get in the way of my shots these days. You can see there's actually a barge crossing on through. So we don't typically see the boats on the water like, oh, I want to show that. So I wanted to show you that. But in the meantime, it's a very, very steamy beginning. 95 degrees, the expected high here today. Will feel like 100 at the height of the afternoon. And we're talking basically mid and upper 80s. Some of these outlying suburbs, you're even into the mid or low 60s, if not 50s. How often do you really see this at the end of July? It just doesn't happen very often. Mid-upper 60s currently down the shore. You've got more of an offshore wind flow, too. So this is just going to be a beautiful beach day, too. Your eyewitness weather health report at the moment looking pretty good overall. Really, the one and only issue for you is going to be the sun glare and the sun issues that you'll face if you don't lather up with sunblock. Air quality is very good. Pollen levels are back to low and medium, but the UV index, as you might imagine, with much like what we saw yesterday in the forecast, full sunshine, in other words, that's going to be up there at about a 9 here today. The Eyewitness Weather Day Planner looks beautiful. We've got the sunshine for you. Very comfortable. No air conditioner required, guys. You can leave again on Saturday, although by this point a warm front's starting to lift in. It doesn't look like it's going to bring us any wet weather, though, but it does help temperatures to start spiking with time. And then Sunday is our first shot. Notice the question mark. It's still just a chance at this point that some of you see a quick pop-up shower or a thunderstorm, and then we're going to be tracking a cold front leading into Monday, so that allows a better chance for a shower or a storm as we head forward in time. But look what happens. I mean, we come from such low dew points. They start to climb, though, with time, looking ahead to Sunday, Monday. So that's a sign more than anything that there's a new system on the way, but also the fact, of course, that you're going to start to notice it feels a little bit stickier to you as days progressively pass by here. Now, this is just perfect beach weather. We have a couple of colleagues that are on vacation this week, and I feel like they just picked the best week to actually be out at the shore. 82. Back in time to talk a little climate talk here from this past June. It just came out in a report that June specifically was very, very warm. It was actually the warmest June that we've ever recorded on Earth since records began. So part of that came from the fact of a developing El Nino, in other words, unusual warmth in the oceans, not just in the Pacific, but also the Atlantic. And ocean and land temperature was at 61.2 degrees, which is actually above 20th century averages. In the meantime, the U.S. saw its 33rd warmest June on record. Here in Philadelphia, we were kind of on par. We had a couple of days above average, a couple of days that were below average, but nothing all that terribly extreme for our area. Doesn't mean that the rest of the world is dealing with the exact same thing, obviously. Now, looking forward in the Eyewitness Weather 7-day forecast, you'll notice that there's some consistency with these temperatures, too. These stay very typical for the most part right through Monday. By Sunday, perhaps a shower or a storm, but up until that point, Misha, I do want to show you what's happening with the Eyewitness Weather Watcher Network right now, and at the moment, they're all reporting some pretty tranquil conditions as well. We're checking in at just 55 degrees for late July morning here from John Jenkins. He's out in Percy, and he's got nothing more than a few clouds. Always great to have a repeat of the day. That certainly as awesome as yesterday was. Absolutely true. We'll go to 64 next. That came into us from Margot. She is just dealing basically with no wind at all. It's very, very still where she is, and that's kind of the story all day today. Very light wind with the low humidity and with the sunshine. It's just going to be phenomenal outside. Out in Middletown, Jason checks in at 64 degrees. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the nice wide zoom, see what's happening with our pattern. At the moment, not too much. We've got a front that's sort of draped well off to our south, high pressure suppressing that, and that's why we keep things so comfortable. Sometimes having clouds out there isn't a terrible thing, but it may skew your sunrise a little bit. We'll take you a bit further off to the south, go just outside of Philly. We're at 63 degrees coming into us from Cardington, and Bill, he's at 63 as we mentioned, and another nice day. His dew point only at 54, so nice and comfortable for him. And one of our Gold Star members here, Margot, she is loving this. How could you not? 60 degrees. TGIF, she said, what a gorgeous morning. The cool nights makes it so, so comfortable, and the warm afternoons, life is good. I love that. What a great way to look at it. Storm Scan 3 bringing in right now still high pressure. That continues to remain on our side, so a nice clear sky region-wide for us at this point. Frontal boundary stalled well off to our south, and it's going to stay there, but eventually a new front does work its way in by the weekend. So even though we keep sunshine today, we keep it tomorrow, and we actually have some on Sunday. You can see that approaching front. Not a really strong front, but enough that it's the second half of the weekend. So that's when changes really start to take place. You won't see too much movement on the thermometer, but granted, a few more clouds, a shower or a storm, even into Monday. And then a couple of days straight here. As long as this verifies, there's your next heat wave already coming up here in the 7-day forecast with hazy conditions beginning on Tuesday. It means that aren't actually rain or precip of any kind. And it can even pick up flocks of birds flying through. It's amazing just how strong those radar sensors can be. But that said, bottom line is you got no wet weather issues here today. So starting things off on a nice clear note. And now that the sun's starting to pop over the horizon, some beautiful colors being streamed across our skyline. Comfort index, remember, talking dew point a lot this week. The dew point measuring the moisture in the air. And there's not very much of it. So with dew points as low as they are at 55 degrees, right on target for that comfort index to be what we're calling pleasant. Very, very nice day outside. Very nice start to the day, too. Current temperature readings are generally in the 50s or 60s. You're even cooler up in the mountains at 49 degrees. That's actually kind of like sweatshirt weather. So depending on your location, you may want to think about an extra layer. The most remote suburbs would be the best idea for that. But everybody gets Delaware. But, you know, almost everybody had to deal with this line of heavy thunderstorms through the overnight. So we've got a couple of rainfall amounts that have come into us from our Eyewitness Weather Watcher network. Just shy of 2, or rather a half an inch, I should say, came in from Bath, PA, here from Charles. Out in Percy, John had just over 3/10 of an inch, and Phil out in Philadelphia reporting just over 1/4 of an inch of rain from the rain that has already moved on through. In fact, Phil actually had a picture that I want to go on over to here. He shows all that rain coming down where he's located around the Chestnut Hill section of the city. So, yeah, I mean, it always messes with your visibility, right? You can even tell just by the snapshot image that it's just hazy and almost that halo-ish glow around the street lamps and the car lights. So it definitely reduces your visibility. Now, things have started to dry out
briefly at least, across our live neighborhood network. Back towards Kutztown, for example, you're at 68 degrees to start things off here, and we are seeing the dampness off to the southeast. Here's the thing, though. Even though this is going to continue its trek, move out to sea, and then we catch a break, it's just that. It's just a break. It does appear as though we'll end up with some scattered showers and thunderstorms. Keyword scattered, but more that moves in as the day goes on, because we need this front to completely fizzle away, and it's going to need a little bit more time. Then high pressure starts to build back in, and we start to heat up very significantly here. Take a look at what's going to happen here. We've got temperatures that are easily going to be rebounding back into the 90s for the next couple of days, with a rise in the jet stream. In other words, a ridge that gets carved out by high pressure. So midweek, it's dry with sunshine, but it's hazy, it's hot, it's humid, and we, my friends, may be looking at another heat wave here as long as these projected daytime highs pan out. In the meantime, come Thursday, a new frontal boundary on the horizon, so that'll be our next shot after today for another shower or thunderstorm. Misha, over to you. Scattered showers and storms, but there will still be wet weather around, so I would say an umbrella is not the worst idea today. Your Eyewitness Weather Health Report featuring lots of pretty colors. You've got a moderate air quality level out there, pollen levels pretty low, UV index, though, interestingly enough, still very high, despite the fact that you're going to have a lot more cloud cover than what the recent days have brought us. Let's jump back to what's going on with those flood advisories. Well, this is good news. Even before we went on the air, Kent County was still in a flood advisory, but just like that, everything updates before your very eyes. We're left with flood advisories strictly through southwestern New Jersey. Looking at the send your patio furniture flying, that kind of thing. So we'll keep you in the know here as things continue to evolve there, but that's not until late in the day tomorrow. For now, we start off flirting already with 80 degrees. This is your actual air temperature at Philly International. So pretty much once the sun comes up, all we can do is go up from here. And with that humidity, it's not going to feel that comfortable. You can really see the demarcation here with the color contours, but also just the temperatures. You're in the 80s currently in St. Louis as well as Little Rock. And once that cold front that's currently got the heavy thunderstorms rumbles on through, it heads our way. The heat continues to build before it gets here. As you might imagine, too, the Eyewitness Weather Health Report is a lot less than ideal. Today, an air quality alert day for unhealthy air quality, specifically for sensitive groups. If you fall in that category, we're talking elderly, kids, respiratory problems. Snow here, Katie, right? On the other snow. We've got that part for you at least covered, but it is the complete opposite, really. The opposite extreme of that being the fact that you've got to deal with some pretty excessive heat out there today. So excessive heat warnings will be taking effect, which we'll discuss in a second here, specifically for I-95 in the immediate vicinity. But we'll take you on out first and foremost to the Eyewitness Weather Watcher Network. Starting things off a little bit further off to the north. Here's Allentown. We're going to go a bit further north of that. 70 degrees coming into us from Charles. He's up in Bath, which is a little bit more remote. Nice clear sky for him, but 70 degrees at the moment, and definitely a mild beginning even in some of those more remote towns. Meanwhile, we'll go a little bit closer into the city here. 71 was sent in from Bill Layden. He's got a nice clear sky at this point. Sun's starting to pop up for us here. He said with the dew points up at 67, and also just the good advice of be careful today. Frequent breaks if you've got to be outside, stay hydrated, all that good stuff, common sense type stuff that we always talk about. Taking you out to one more here from Lynn. She's got a clear sky in Cherry Hill. I love this. It's just yucky. I get it. You know, it's so steamy outside, and it will stay that way through the entire day into tomorrow, and we don't really get too much relief by the tail end of the week, although it is going to turn a bit less humid, and that's a huge help, right? Storm scan at the moment, though, nice and quiet as can be, courtesy of high pressure built in place. But here's your next frontal boundary, so that will continue its trek east, eventually moving in by late in the day tomorrow, and it will be bringing with it what looks to be at this point at least showers, but probably some heavier thunderstorms. So we'll track this. Notice your timestamp. We're jumping it into Thursday now here, 4 p.m. here, and because it'll have had most of the day to work with, it will likely bring with it some strong wind gusts, maybe a little bit more gusto with those thunderstorms. And then by Friday, we start to clear things out once again. If there were ever a great pool day, this is it. This is a 5 out of 5 beach ball kind of a day. 95, feeling like 100 for many of you. Hot, sticky, sunny. Take a dip and feel no grief about it. It will be beautiful outside for that. But again, if you don't have that benefit, try to find the air conditioner. Notice every single day of the next 7, at least 90 degrees the expectation. Tomorrow's the stormy day, then we dry it out right through the weekend, and it stays pretty hot and toasty for Monday and Tuesday too. Misha, over to you. And see that reflected on the area temperatures around the rest of the region. Your far north and west suburbs are in the 60s. We're already flirting with 80 though in the city, so it makes such a difference whether you're in the urban areas versus the suburbs or versus some of those very rural areas, how cool it's going to be to start things off here.
And that's even reflected from county to county. 66 in Quakertown, 75 by comparison in Palmyra, right next to the river. Meanwhile, we at least making a good run towards 2011 standards and obviously already on par with 2013. Let's go ahead and talk about what's going on in this atmosphere, though. We are tracking a cold front, as we mentioned. At the moment, all is calm, all is completely collected. You can see the Center City skyline well off in the distance, granted, but it's there. It's visible, at least here outside Palmyra Cove Nature Park. And as we take a look at what's going on Storm Scan, nice wide zoom shows you the approach of this latest cold front, and there's some very heavy-duty thunderstorms headed towards Cincinnati, starting to fizzle at least a little bit, but this front is what's going to be crossing through later today. And as I mentioned, you have a little bit of a fizzling effect going on with the leading edge of that, and we're really just looking at a scattered shower or a storm. Disturbance passing us by well off to the south here. You've got another well off to the south just through the Big Bend of Florida. That too expected to stay to our south. So this forecast isn't really all that action-packed. We are going to see a little bit of a cool down in time. Let's walk you through, meanwhile, what's going to happen. About the mid-60s. There's some spots where it's a little warmer, some spots where it's a little cooler. And actually, the one that stood out to me when I looked at the area map like a sore thumb, that one came in from Eileen. And she's out in one of the more remote suburbs of Gilbertsville. So she's got a nice clear sky and with a very modest breeze, allowed that temperature to drop off pretty readily here. So she's currently reporting 58 degrees and just advising everyone to enjoy this, especially because it is going to be heating up much more later on today. Let's take you a little bit further east here. Let's go right across the Philadelphia, or right across the Delaware rather, from Philadelphia and go out to Lynn. She's in Cherry Hill, still reporting clear skies there as well. 70 degrees. She says it's feeling fresh outside. I like that. Feeling good. One more out to the Pinelands we go. Mark Herndon reporting generally just a couple of clouds overhead in Chatsworth. He's in at 63 degrees this hour. Now I want to show you the frontal boundary that's going to start to get things changing in our atmosphere a little bit more so today area at this point. But do you see how things have been fizzling a little bit? These were much more robust thunderstorms over central and northern Indiana throughout the last couple of hours. But by the time this reaches us, we're talking a scattered shower or thunderstorm out of this. Perhaps locally heavy, granted, but nothing terribly widespread. Also notice just over the Big Bend area of Florida, actually out over the water in the Gulf, some heavy thunderstorms and rain currently moving out over that area. The same issue that was responsible for actually delaying the Buccaneers training camp down in Tampa over the course of the weekend. We've got our own training camp obviously underway, and for tomorrow we're generally still talking some pretty decent heat. Definitely typical heat for the standards for the Eagles tomorrow out of the link for that open practice starting off at 10 a.m. We're expecting to hit 90 degrees, though, at the official height of the afternoon. Meanwhile, looking forward in this Eyewitness Weather 7-day forecast, by the time we hit Wednesday, we're finally what we're going to find. It's just the 90-plus degree days are going to draw to a close eventually. Not just yet. We think we're going to keep that heat wave going for you here at least another 2 days, actually, today and tomorrow. But storm scan remaining quiet and empty at this hour. Looking at the area headlines right now, you're currently into the mid-upper 60s, back into the 70s at the moment in Philadelphia. 73 degrees, obviously nice and mild, but again, it does not feel terribly humid yet. However, that's going to be changing with time as the day progresses here. Expect to see more and more sunshine. Pretty hot day today. Once that initial round of wet weather moves through, you might see a spotty shower or a storm, but generally this should be a quieter afternoon than it was a morning. Wednesday, it looks nice. It's still in the upper 80s, but the heat wave will have been broken and the humidity will be dropping back. Eventually the clouds rebuild on Thursday, though, with this guy moving on in, and we're expecting the possibility of some pretty heavy rain here, it looks like, on Friday. In the meantime, we've got Eagles training camp open practices today. South and east you go, the milder it still is, because generally you do still have a few clouds and again some moisture to work with, so it might still feel a tad muggy initially in those southeast communities, but I like this one. Any day below 90, he says, is a good day, and I can totally appreciate that. We're still very warm today, don't get me wrong. I think we'll break the heat wave. We're at least expecting to, but you can see the moisture now pulling out to sea. Frontal boundary is now out of here, high pressure taking its place, and then because we're going to see more sun than anything, it is going to help us spike back into the upper 80s today. Air quality, though, is good. Our Eyewitness Weather Health Report checking in with some pretty decent levels. Pollen level has been a little up there. It's medium and high today. UV index remains very high, certainly because that sun angle remains pretty high at this point of the year. Now, incoming solar energy is actually generally at its peak throughout the course of the summer. First pitch temperatures, meanwhile, will take you down to South Philly here. Pleasantly warm at 85 degrees. Again, not terribly humid. Under the sunshine, it's a great excuse to hit the ballpark. And as we look forward in the forecast, this is where the
the temperatures really start to decline. At best, we're talking upper 70s on Friday. We're watching a storm system that generally looks like it goes through the mid-Atlantic, so off to our south, but we're allowing at least for some rain to move in. Another one. Darn it.
Sorry, Katie.
You're too puntastic, Erica.
Oh, girl.
I love it.
Back to our weather. I'm sorry.
I just love it. Okay. That video is awesome. Okay, let's go on out to the Eyewitness Weather Watcher Network here, folks. Off to a really comfortable start, and that's definitely being reflected in a lot of not just the readings from the Eyewitness Weather Watchers this morning, but also their comments. We'll take you out to Lynn. She's got 69 degrees right now under a nice clear sky in Cherry Hill. She said it's feeling awesome outside. She wants to keep this weather stretch going, understandably so, because it's just nice outside. And that's the expectation all day today. It won't last forever, as things typically never do in the weather department, but at least you've got today, right? Dolores checking in at 66 degrees. She's got a few more clouds out there, and because we've still got some water vapor to work with, it's actually making the colors look a little different over the early morning sky, so it looks purple for her. Meanwhile, we drop it to a little. Let's go ahead and take you on out to the Eyewitness Weather Watcher Network, guys. Show you what's going on right now. Erica mentioned it. So refreshing outside. There's not much of a breeze, but it just feels good with those low dew points in place. We'll take you on a little baby tour around the Watchers network here. Charles checking in with nice clear skies. He's up in Bath, one of our more remote suburbs, and with that nice clear sky, it's dropped down to about 60 degrees this hour. Even up in the Poconos, and even some of these more remote suburbs just outside of Philly are into the 50s. In fact, let's go to one of those. 56 came in from John. He's in Percy again with a nice clear sky and virtually no wind. And just outside of Philly to Bill we go. He's in Cardington again. Nice clear sky. You're seeing the theme here, right? High pressure still in place, and he's saying that with that lower dew point and the cooler air, it's just nice to be outside, taking the dog for a walk perhaps, and just enjoying the fresh air. Now, I want to go back in time. Now, how did we do on the thermometer? Did we extend the heat wave or didn't we? Yes, heat wave as expected. We only ended up at 89 degrees as we had predicted, but we came off of that stretch of 90-plus degree days. 8 days straight was the heat wave. Now it's over, and it's going to basically stay a little cooler for the next couple of days. However, along with that comes our next storm system. So we've got a little cluster of thunderstorms here right now. Don't worry about that. More than anything, I want you to focus on this guy. This is the latest disturbance that's going to have the impact. You can see more of that curvature with the storm at this point, too. This is basically just rolling straight east. So what does that do for our area? It puts us right on the northern fringe of it. What that means is it's a system that's essentially going to split our region in half. Some of you end up with wet weather. Some of you don't. We'll just use storm scan as a way to sort of draw the line. I would say draw that line through central Berks, upper Bucks, and points east. On north, tomorrow, don't worry about rain. Just some clouds. Further south you go, you have a system, but it really isn't going to be much. I mean, you're only talking about a couple of showers, maybe a few pockets of steadier rain, and future rain shows this well. So this is your Thursday. Looking forward in the forecast, we time step everything out. Bulk of the rain, obviously here, pent up through the mid-Atlantic. So we sit right on the northern fringe. Not a major story for us, obviously, when it comes to rain amounts, but it is the wettest day of this forecast. Weekend looks pretty good right now, mid-80s, and then we look ahead to Monday. We'll keep the mid-80s. It's also our next shot, at least, for a shower or a storm. Misha, over to you. At all out of this storm system, because it's basically just going to split the region in half. So I would say, especially from Philly on south, expect to see some rain tomorrow. That's where you're going to primarily want to keep an umbrella on standby. But if you're up in the Lehigh Valley, don't even worry about it. We're looking good. Meanwhile, temperatures as they stand right now, warmest spot, your eye gets immediately drawn right to the smack dab center of the map here. In Philadelphia, we're at 70 degrees. It's a lot cooler under the clear sky up at Mount Pocono right now, but it feels good outside. You know, you've got more of that north to northeasterly component to the wind flow, even at the shore points, making it feel very comfortable outside. Nice little sea breeze to go along with your Thursday. And as we take you out to the shore points, I'd say overall it's a good beach day, but eventually these clouds well defined. Nice curvature with this particular storm over the Canadian prairie. This is going to be a slow mover, but eventually it does sort of turn into and morph into our next best chance for wet weather. Here's where we stand dew point wise. Lower the dew point, the drier the air. That's always the motto, right? So you've got a good hair day to start things off up in the Mount Pocono area, Allentown area. It's not even too terrible with a storm overhead across the southern counties. Here's where we stand temperature wise, though. The actual air at 69 degrees in Philadelphia at the airport. Meanwhile, we've got a Kate on there as well. So Kate Bilo, who knows? There could be something going on there if we get far enough down the road. There's some fun names on the list this year. Wanda, Mindy, Henri. That's probably my favorite. That's probably my first one. All right, let's go on out to storm scan. Take a look what's going on
At the moment, we really have already seen the brunt of what's going to happen with this storm. You can see the really heavy rain over the last 3 hours moving out to sea. Look at all of that. That's what really rolled through our area last night. Now you're just left with some showers, a little drizzle, and a storm that's retreating. Look at this bright, beautiful shot that we start things off with here out in the Live Neighborhood Network. I mean, you've got more sun than anything. The expectation, the further north and west you go. So depending on your location, you're seeing a little bit of a mixed bag here. Up in the Poconos, it's clear as a bell from Keith and Percy. You've got some clouds. In Nottingham, you've still got some clouds from Fran, and William checks in with more clouds than anything. No, not much clearing in Wishton. Well, it's just a true and false. Is this statement true or false? There has been a season with 0 Atlantic hurricanes. Is that true? Is that false? What do you think?
True.
Okay.
My question, do you mean to make landfall or just the creation of a tropical storm?
Any named system that became a hurricane.
I'm going false, just to mix things up.
All right.
Okay, I'm wrong. Whichever one you press first, we know is the
You always know wherever I go first, it's wrong. So Misha gets a point.
Well done, Misha.
Yeah, and actually, there were 2 separate years that this actually occurred, since records began anyway, 1907 and 1914, right, Jeff? Got those right? 1907, 1914, yeah. So it has happened, but we've had a pretty quiet season so far already. We've only had 3 named systems so far. They haven't really done too much yet, but here's the list of names for 2015 Atlantic hurricanes. So we've gotten up to Claudette so far. Danny would be next in line, and look who's next. Clear it right back out again, which is also good news, too, if you're trying to catch the best of the Perseid meteor shower later on tonight. Water temperatures, in the meantime, are very, very warm. Thankfully, not much in the way of any tropical activity, but yeah, we're starting to heat things up for you here at the Jersey Shore and down through the Delaware beaches. Mid-70s generally up and down the shore points here in terms of that open ocean water, so it feels pretty good. And with a day like this, hey, I know yesterday your beach plans might have gotten kind of messed up here with the storm, but it looks beautiful today. So talk about a trade-off, and that's going to keep on going for us moving forward here. So from John Jenkins, he too seen just clear skies at the moment and a very modest breeze too. Nice day coming up, he said, for the start of the Middletown Grange Fair. So thanks for the heads up on that one. 68 degrees as well down in Middletown, Delaware. 68 degrees again. That came in from Jason. He's got a clear sky as well. Looking ahead to the beautiful day. But again, we've got to worry about, I wouldn't say worry. We've got to expect the possibility of a spotty shower in a few locations here as the day goes on. Let's go on out and talk about why that's happening. So storm scan, okay, clearly the heaviest rain is now moving well out to sea. We've got that clear sky. But if you look really closely, and you're going to have to look really closely back towards central and north central PA, there's a little hint of moisture. That's as your cool air is starting to nudge in here. And that could lead to a quick shower at some point later on today. Meanwhile, later on tonight, we've got a different kind of shower going on, and that's the Perseid meteor shower, which is actually debris from the comet Swift-Tuttle. The best viewing will happen on night at 5 a.m. And the sun, or rather the moon, will be setting at 7:16 tonight. And it's a new moon. In other words, very, very little illumination. So a nice moonlit, virtually, rather moonless sky through the overnight. And if you are up late enough, you could see up to 100 meteors per hour. This should be a really good view when the speed of those meteors is as high as 133,000 miles per hour. Tough to imagine that. Crazy stuff, but this should be a really good view. So we're going to have some tips into the next hour of how to best view those meteor showers. But in the meantime, expect lower humidity today, perhaps that shower. Tomorrow looks awesome. Friday's a great pool day, and it's just a hot and steamy summer weekend coming up. Misha, over to you. Meantime, expect to still see eventually a few additional clouds. While we are starting off on a nice clear note right now, the clouds start to pick up again for us with time, and the further north you go especially, there will likely be a shower just dotting the area radar at some point. 70 degrees currently in Philly, in Millville, in Dover. The magic number in those 3 spots, but you're in the mid-60s or lower, or higher for that matter, just kind of in that vicinity around the rest of the region. As we go through the rest, I'll go further off to the north into some of our northernmost counties. Charles checking in right now with just a couple of clouds. He's up in Bath, PA, where, again, it is a little bit more remote. A bit further off to the south, another more remote location. 59 degrees came in from Wayne Hunter. He's in Landenberg, so you definitely have a nice clear sky out there. And he actually said because of that, he was able to see a couple of meteors from the Perseid meteor shower, as that's now wrapping up with the light of day popping over the horizon, starting to see that become a little bit more difficult to spot.
We'll go to one more here. Lynn is checking in with a nice clear sky. She's in Cherry Hill, and a big congratulations to her. She said this is her last morning report before she leaves to get married. So congratulations, Lynn. Very happy for you, and we wish you well. Meanwhile, let's go ahead and check on out what's going on Storm Scan 3, and not a heck of a lot at the moment. You've got high pressure in place. We continue to track what's left at this point of our frontal boundary well out to sea. So high pressure is here. It's here to stay. You've got some moisture off across the northern high plains, but that forecast looks pretty phenomenal at this point. Yeah, she's like, okay. Mid-80s. Exactly. I mean, I'll sign a note for you. That could be your excuse. Mid-80s for Saturday and Sunday, and also tomorrow, smack dab in the center of that beautiful weather at the shore points and the Delaware beaches, too. Looking forward in the Eyewitness Weather 7-day, notice the trend. We do start to heat up from here. That's why I always say this is my favorite day of the next 5, because we do start to heat things up. And actually, we're expecting another heat wave to unfold as long as we hit 90 or above Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. Misha, over to you. Day beginning to pop over the horizon, and it's just a beautiful view, right? All is calm, all is quiet, and it's going to stay that way. Let's go ahead next to Storm Scan 3, where we once again have a nice clear sky for you. Beautiful weather unfolding for the day. Current area temperatures, this is comfortable. Dare I say it's even fleece weather up towards Mount Pocono. I know. Hold the phone, right? 69 degrees at the airport and generally low in mid-60s and through all of your outlying suburbs. So as you go through the day today, this is a banner day. We're actually going to add an extra beach ball to this. It should be 5 out of 5 beach balls on the meat. Have a positive effect, but it's almost like it's too much too soon. And we're going to discuss that a little bit, but it is trivia day. So that, of course, is where we're going to continue this discussion here. What degree, guys, of sea surface temperature, that's SST, of sea surface temperature rise defines a strong El Nino season? That's what we're looking ahead to. Do you need 0.5 degrees surplus? Do you need 1 degree surplus? C, 1.5, or D, 2 degrees? Misha, what do you think?
B.
B for Misha.
I'll go D.
D.
Let's go with A.
A. Well, you're all wrong. It's actually 1.5. Rather than going through, we'll just continue to move on. You're all wrong. No points this time around. But yeah, that is what you would use as at least the determination of a strong, quote unquote, El Nino season. So what does all of this really mean? Now, we heard about from the NOAA representative there that back in 1997, early 1997 values, this bright white red coloring indicating that's where you had some of the warmest sea surface temperatures right around the equator. But this is the projection here. In fact, this is actually what's going on right now over the Central Pacific. How does that actually impact the weather? In a very strong way. It leads to a very strong Pacific jet stream, which can actually split to a southern and a northern branch. It causes that jet stream to move off to the north. And what you'll end up have happening here is that you'll likely get some very beneficial rain out towards the places that are affected with the drought. But it may come too soon, too fast, to the point that mudslides, landslides, all of that become a very real concern. How does it affect our region? Well, because you have this split, you're generally going to be talking about milder weather in the northeastern United States, but we could also pick up a lot of moisture out of this. That could lead to maybe early season heavy rain, potential then for mid to late season in winter specifically. So it just kind of all depends on how the atmosphere shakes out, but that's a trend that a lot of time tends to pan out when you've got an El Nino season. And we've obviously come off of some very brutal winters as of late. So milder is good, but not necessarily getting rid of the moisture with this kind of a pattern. Now, this pattern, this is hot. We're going to start to get you into the low 90s as early as tomorrow and keep the theme going, it looks like, Misha, right into next week. Because we've got such a light wind, this is actually a really good hair day, even though we're going to start to heat up a bit more from here. You're in the 40s, after all, up at Mount Pocono. So nice, crisp air mass outside. We're at 67 currently in Philadelphia at the airport specifically. Northwest wind flow at the moment still being reported up at Mount Pocono, but that's going to be shifting more west and then eventually southwesterly. And that's what really starts to get that humidity ramping up for us, because when you've got the air mass coming in from the deep south, you know how it is. Hottest of what we're forecasting. And we'll officially make it a heat wave for you today. Let's talk dew points. Remember, the higher that dew point gets, the more muggy it starts to feel. So as we get closer and closer to the 70s, that's where it starts to become awfully steamy and soupy outside. So, you know, by noon today, it's going to be
really uncomfortable. Unfortunately, guys, you start to really build on the humidity. Now, that said, water temperatures are starting to climb for us nicely here. If you're trying to beat the worst of this heat, the beach is not a bad place to go. You're into the 70s already, even flirting with 80 degrees at the offshore buoy at Wildwood, so not shabby. In the meantime, we'll keep it generally in the mid-70s for that water temperature. Temperatures in the air, mid-80s. Great excuse to hit the beaches here, but do keep in mind that sun is still awfully strong, so make sure you take care. Lather on the sunblock. Back in the city, air quality becomes an issue. And that'll be the story around most of the region actually here today. But low 90s keep on going right into the middle part of the week for us here. And then we'll finally, well, I wouldn't say cool off, but at least break out of the 90-degree stretch here with a new frontal boundary that's going to be bringing in especially some wet weather on Thursday. But we could even see a spotty shower storm pick up as early as tomorrow night or Wednesday, and then lingering even into Friday. So the bottom line here, Misha, are actually from yesterday, but I had to show them to you. They're just so pretty. This one came in from Phil Chapline. Look at that sunrise. You're going to see a similar view, I think, actually here today as high pressure is still in place. He took this one out at Brigantine, and another I just love it. It's just a beautiful shot. Well organized here shot of the bird on the beach here in the early morning hours. So pretty. Let's go next. Actually, I want to show you a list from the Eyewitness Weather Watchers too here of the temperatures. These are over the last half hour or so, and you're already into the 70s in a lot of locations. So that said, being off to such a warm start here as we are, that only means that it's going to heat up very readily and very easily from here. Let's go back again to the graphics and take you to storm scan, where it's quiet as can be at this point. I mean, you still have high pressure building in place, and that's going to keep things going with the sunshine. But remember, with a counter, or I should say a clockwise rotation around that high, let's go and talk about tropics though too. Lots to cover here. Danny's still a tropical storm. However, it's running into relatively low wind shear. In other words, nothing's there to really inhibit this. There's lots of warm water. We expect that it is going to eventually achieve hurricane status. And unfortunately, right now, winds have turned a bit here. It looks as though this may end up making at least a really close call of an impact to portions of the Lesser Antilles, say from St. Lucia up toward St. John. So that'll have to be something that we keep a close watch on, especially if you have any travel interests that way. For now, though, it's quiet as can be, just really muggy outside in our own live neighborhood network. We're currently into the 70s in most locations, and as we warm things up, we'll get you into the mid-80s later on today. But because more now making its approach and crossing through the northern Lesser Antilles, they frankly could use the rain. But when you're dealing with a tropical storm like this, obviously gusty winds, strong storm surge potential, and then also some very gusty wind can be an issue. Meanwhile, it looks like it's generally going to just bypass Puerto Rico, but very likely bring in some outer rain bands to that area. Southern Hispaniola also likely to get hit, but again, these are spots that could use the rain. So it may end up being more of a benefit than anything, because it looks like the storm will continue to weaken and just bring in some good, well-deserved rain to those areas. Health report back here stateside looking, well, it's starting to brighten up out there. I mean, we've got moderate air quality for you today as humidity begins to creep up. UV index is still in the very high category, so that sun angle is still strong after all in August. Our current wind speeds, I mean, it's so calm we overlap each other, but I wanted to show you the wind direction. You see these arrows are kind of haphazard, but eventually they're going to turn a bit more southerly. That, no, of course we know, brings in more humidity, a warmer air mass. So we're going to nice night, what looks to be a nice sunrise and day overall. We'll go a little bit further off to the south here. In fact, take you right in the outskirts of Philadelphia at 59 degrees. Bill checking in with a nice clear sky in Cardington as well. He is feeling the cool air, and with that low dew point here currently, it's not a terrible start. Yeah, it feels really comfortable outside, all things considered. Down to Delaware we go, where it's 63 degrees from Jason Kwiatkowski, and then he's in Middletown with that clear sky as well. Hasn't felt this nice in the morning for quite a while. Amen to that. Boy, has it been muggy for the last week or so, and now we've just got that crispness in the air. Doesn't necessarily last all day, but we're going to keep it as long as possible for you here, guys. And we do eventually see a cold front that's going to cross on through. So let's walk you out there, taking you to storm scan. Right now, high pressure is still the story, still the theme overall, but you can see off to the west here some of those clouds starting to billow a little bit. So that's a sign of things to come. Sort of draping a frontal boundary. You got to look really closely. It's really just not that huge of a system or impressive of a system, but what it does do is help trigger a little bit more humidity with time and eventually a shower or a storm. Our Monday looks beautiful at the beaches though, boy. Rip current risk nice and low up and down the Delaware beaches as well as the Jersey shore points. And our water temperatures, they're not bad. They're at 74 degrees, so perfect excuse to take a dip in the waves here. We keep it into the upper 80s this afternoon with rising humidity. By tonight, though, watch for a shower or storm. That goes for anyone. It'll linger early tomorrow morning, then we clear out for sunshine, and it's basically wall-to-wall sunshine, Misha, right through the end of the week and probably Saturday, too. Thumbs up, right?
Thumbs up all the way.
So it'll be hot anyway. Taking a look at the area map in terms of temperature, you've got a really calm wind, and with a low dew point, it's just kind of crisp outside. Feels a little more like fall than anything, which is very comfortable, right? 52 degrees up in Mount Pocono. Dare I say that's fleece weather. 68 here in the city, and in AC, you're at 63 degrees. But again, you've got that nice calm wind region wide. That is really going to continue to be the theme for us here. But as that said, and when we speaking of humidity, Fran also mentioned that he's got some pretty high humidity, 68 degrees for him right now. Nice temp, but a little muggy. Asking if it's going to be a bad hair day. And actually, I think it actually gets better and better with time here, simply because we start to see these dew points drop off with time. So maybe start with a ponytail, and then you can let your hair down, and it'll be just fine. Greg sent in, for the most part, just some clouds as well. He's at 72 degrees, and he actually sent us a great shot from last night. He was able to capture, so if you look closely, some cloud-to-cloud lightning from last night as the storms came in. And that was from the frontal boundary that we are still tracking. It's still trying to make its retreat. But let's go ahead and take you back in time here so far for the month of August. And looking back at the last few years, there are a few highlights. The wettest August we have seen happened in 2011. When we had over 19 inches of rain. A lot of that had to do with Irene, if you recall. 8 90-plus degree days in 2012, and only one 90-degree day last August. But this year has been a very hot one in terms of 90 or above. We've already had 10 out of the last 25 days at 90 degrees. So the pattern that's settling in here is a pretty darn nice one overall, as you'll see. Here's what's left of that front we were just talking about, though. You can still see a few additional showers firing up primarily at the shore points at this point. But this front is going to be making its full retreat. We clear out with time from northwest to southeast. Humidity clears out with time from northwest to southeast, so it just feels better and better. And then, I mean, this is the stretch of days that you want to enjoy. Mid-low 80s, full sunshine, low humidity. That's Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, Misha. Can't get better than that, right?
Oh,
levels continue to drop with time here. And then we're just left with nice low dew points for Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, likely starting to pick up a little bit more as we head into the weekend. But this is a good stretch of days coming our way. Right now, as we stand, we're at 76 degrees, both in Philly as well as in Atlantic City. And you can see how winds have really calmed down in Mount Pocono, 63 degrees up that way. But we are going to see that wind flow shift a bit more northwesterly now that the front is still, again, in transition, trying to actually clear out.